Message is being broadcast by the Department of Defense of the Republic. At 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, multiple unidentified objects were confirmed to have entered Earth's atmosphere.
Discovery Houston, 20 seconds to LOST drift.
Roger, nice to be in orbit. The first message that comes to you is you are a divine being. You matter. You count. You come from realms of unimaginable power and light, and you will return to those realms.
The vast stretches of the unknown and the unanswered and the unfinished still far outstrip our collective comprehension.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting from Forest Tower Studios, all the way from the Deep South. Now, here is your host, Joe Root.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. It is Tuesday night, the 24th, and we are broadcasting from the great American South. I'm Joe Roop, and this is Lighting the Void, your voice for verity in this insane realm of polarity. The website is lightingthevoid.com, and the moon is waxing almost full on to midnight, so make sure you fire up your chakras, sync both hemispheres of your brain together, and shoot your magical beam of light through your third eye tonight with us as we peer into the void on our search for truth. The call-in number is 1-800-588-0335, 1-800-588-0335. We are live on KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM, TalkStream Live, TuneIn, Spreaker, iTunes Radio, all those wonderful places. And the call to listen line, of course, is 701-719-3971. Tonight, the great Jordan Maxwell joins us here for the second time on Lighting the Void. I've also interviewed him on Spaced Out Saturday, but there is no need to explain why tonight is going to be informative and compelling. And this is one of those shows where we really try to get down to the truth. And I believe I've said this before, and I hope it's not going out of style, but Jordan Maxwell has been truth-seeking and researching before it was cool. Before any of us thought it was cool. It's a big fad now. But this man has been doing it for a while. And I'm always super impressed by his research, by his knowledge, and by the stuff that he admits that he has no clue about, but he's trying to get answers to. And that's what I love about the guy. I think it's going to be a great show tonight. I mean, when you come to the questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What's going on? What is consciousness? What's this whole thing about? I believe Jordan is trying to get to the answers, and I believe he's probably closer than most of us. Tomorrow night, David Adair joins us. He's going to be on here. And then Lisa Galarno, I hope I don't say her name wrong. I've been trying to figure out how to pronounce that. I'm going to have to email her and find out. But that's going to be on Thursday night. Great lineup this week. I want to say thank you all who supported the show and donated. Awesome show with Mary DeCina last night. Got a bunch of great feedback regarding that show. Sorry, I had something in my throat. And there was, I did not expect that show last night. So I'm just happy. It's going to be a great week. And this show, real quick, is brought to you by Audible.com. So you can get you a free trial, 30-day free trial to get you an audiobook, any audiobook you want on any subject matter there is. Audibletrial.com/LTV radio. Go check that out. Grab you a t-shirt. Follow, like, subscribe. Everything is Lighting the Void. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Give us a follow. If you message me, I'll do my best to message you back. And I want to say thanks to the team at the network, Eric Markham, Jeremy Scott, and all the rest of you that help me on a daily basis and a nightly basis. The hashtag is LTV Radio. Now, enough of the promotions. Let's get into the conversation. Jordan Maxwell continues as a preeminent researcher and independent scholar in the field of occult and religious philosophy. His interest in these subjects began as far back as 1959. He served for 3.5 years as the religion editor of Truth Seeker magazine, America's oldest Freethought Journal since 1873. His work exploring the hidden foundations of Western religions and secret societies creates enthusiastic responses from audiences around the world. He has conducted dozens of intensive seminars, hosted his own radio talk show, guested on more than 600 radio shows, and written, produced, and appeared in numerous television shows and documentaries, including a 2-hour special for the CBS TV network, as well as the internationally acclaimed 5-part Ancient Mystery series, all devoted to understanding ancient religions and their pervasive influence on world affairs today. His work on the subject of secret societies, both ancient and modern, and their symbols has fascinated audiences around the world for decades. Now, considering the rapidly moving events of today and the very real part hidden religious agendas play in our modern world today, he feels these controversial subjects are not only interesting to explore, but too important to ignore. His extraordinary presentations include documents and photographs seldom seen elsewhere. Lots of subject matter he covers, folks. Astral theology, symbolism, modern-day religion, secret societies, world mysteries, ufology. I can go on and on. Jordan, thank you so much for coming back on Lighting the Void. I really appreciate you spending time with us again here.
Well, thank you very much, Joe, for having me back on. I appreciate it. I often wonder if I'm having any kind of response. I know that there are a lot of people who hear me, but there's millions who don't. And so I'm doing what I do just for the people who want to hear me, for the people who want to know. I'm not trying to save the world. Nobody has ever come to save the world. I'm just doing what I do because it's the best I can think of to do to try and help my fellow man educate himself and help him to get through life's misery of questions and incredible stuff we have to endure as humans. But most of it is because we just don't understand how things work. And so that's what I've been trying to do, is just explain how much we don't know, how much has been foisted on us, and we just accept it because we come into life as a baby, and you don't have any idea about what's going on, so you just have to depend on your parents, and they will guide you. And of course, the parents have never had an education. They don't know what's going on. Why? Because when they were born, your grandparents, they didn't know what was going on. They have no idea. So, after all these many, many generations of people, and then you pop into the world, and so you are now trying to figure the world out. Well, hell, people have been 1,000 generations on this earth, and they're trying to figure things out. But nobody seems to be able to nail anything down because nobody reads. Very, very few people will spend their life researching and studying, to discover anything. And so we just go along to get along and accept whatever our peers tell us. We just accept whatever our friends in school tell us, and whatever our teachers and our religious leaders and political leaders and all the other, goofy people who are out there. They don't know what's going on either, but at least they put on a good show and you bought it, and so they tell you what to believe and how to think and how to explain everything. And then one day at 95 years old, you're in an old folks' home, and everybody you've listened to all your life, they're all gone. They're all dead and gone. And here you are in an old folks' home, and you don't know nothing. You've never read nothing. You don't understand anything. And you just sit here and wait to leave this world, never ever suspecting that the earth you live on and the world you live in is a profound, incredible, profound experience if you have the education and the mind to look at all the darkness of this world. Where did we come from? Who created this earth? I mean, why is it we look all over the universe and we see planets and we see all kinds of beautiful planets, big, little, but they all just look the same. They're all just round globes of dirt.
It does feel lonely.
But out of nowhere comes this little planet we call it the Earth, and it has nothing but water, more water than has Earth. And then we got huge, enormous seas of water under the Earth that we don't even know about. And then we got every kind of life that's possible in the universe. We have everything from butterflies to bears to dinosaurs to snakes. My God, we got life forms all over the Earth. But you can't even find a cricket on any other planet. And so, why does this Earth have all the water? We've got all the plant life. We've got all the stuff. And all the other planets we know have got zero. We don't see anything. So most people have never thought about that. They have no idea where anything comes from. And besides, none of this is really important. It's just all speculation. None of it's important because the only thing of any real importance is, is the movie stars and the newest television show and the beer parties and the Dodgers and the basketball and pinball machines and all kinds of silly things to entertain the childish mind. And so I just had enough of the childish world a long time ago. And I'm talking about when I was 9 years old. I had pretty well nailed that down, that in the world of religion and talking about theology and God and all of that, I kind of pretty well figured it out when I was like 9 years old, that the adults do not know beans about nothing. Adults are just making it up as they go along to cover their ignorance, to cover what they don't know. And I don't know, have you ever heard me tell you the tale about when I was about 9 years old, when I was being confirmed in the Catholic Church?
Yeah,
Did I ever tell you?
Yeah, you did. You asked, and this might be the different one, but I remember you saying that you asked about hell, and if we're going to be spirits when we die, how can you burn a spirit? Is that the different one, or is this a different one?
No, this is different.
Okay.
We were told when I was in Catholic school, 9 years old, we were told by the nuns that tomorrow night there's going to be a special service for all Catholics, and the bishop is going to be here. And this particular service was for children, and it's called what is it? There's a word for it. I can't remember right now. I'm getting too old to remember who I am anymore.
That happens.
It was a service for children. Because you were going to be confirmed, and that was the word, confirmation. And so the confirmation was for 9 and 10-year-old kids. And so the nun told us, now tomorrow night at confirmation service, the bishop is going to be here. And so after the service is over, it may not happen, but sometimes the bishop at confirmation services, the bishop may ask you children if you have any questions about your religion, about about your faith. If you have any questions, he'll try and answer them for you. And she said, if that happens, do not ask any questions. You keep your mouth shut. You don't have any questions. And I thought to myself, how do you know I don't have any questions? I got plenty of questions. I can't wait to see him. And so the next night after the service was over, sure enough, the bishop said, if you children have any questions, now that you're confirmed Catholics, I'll try and answer them if I can. And so I stood up. All the boys sat on one side of the church, and all the girls sat on the other. And so I stood up to make sure everyone could see me. And I said, yes, Bishop, I have a question. I said, my father works with torches, like a welder. And I said, I played with torches. He's let me hold them, and I know what they do. And I said, if there was an angel standing next to me, and if he appeared to me and I could see this angel, could I aim the torch at him and burn him? I mean, I can burn anything with a torch, but could I burn an angel? Would it hurt him? And he said, well, no. And I said, why not? And he said, well, something to the effect that fire needs something natural, like wood or plastic or, something like that, paper, to burn, because it's a natural phenomenon. You can't burn a spirit. And I said, why not? And he said, well, you can't burn a spirit. First of all, you can't even see a spirit, much less burn one. And second, there is nothing part of a spirit that is burnable. There's nothing that can burn. There's nothing there. It's a spirit. And it's a ghost in a spirit. So I said, well, then why am I so concerned about going to hell where my spirit will burn in hell forever if you can't burn a spirit? And then everybody looks at each other like a deer in the headlight. Nobody's ever thought to ask such a silly, normal question. If you can't burn an angel and then you can't burn a spirit, well, then why am I worried about going to hell, where your spirit's going to burn forever if you can't burn a spirit? And so I looked at the audience, and the audience looked at me, and there was a Catholic priest standing very close to me, and he just pointed at me and said, sit down and shut up. So I did. I sat down, but I did answer what I wanted to know. I wanted to know if there was an intelligent answer for a kid's question. And I found out, no, all the adults that go to church and all the adults that officiate at churches, none of them know their butt from a hole in the ground. None of them. I've never come across anybody, clergyman, anywhere in any church, Protestant, Catholic, Masonic orders, York Rites, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, Seventh-day Adventists, Christadelphians, Worldwide Church of God. Nobody seems to know what they're doing. Nobody seems to have nailed anything down, and that's why Christians are referred to as believers. You go to a new church and they ask you, you're a Christian? Yes, I'm a Christian. How long have you been a believer? And then they got books called The Believer's House of Faith and The Believer's This and The Believer's That. And I've often wondered, why are you called believers? Well, now I know. It's because you don't know anything. So you just have to believe whatever the guy next to you is telling you, and he don't know anything either. And he's going to explain to you all about God that he understands, and you should take that, And so after a while, I got to understand that adults around me just do not know what's going on. And so they're just talking to each other and trying to help each other to feel better about the life and where we come from and where we're going. And so now I look at the religious world and I see the ministers and the people going to the churches. It's like going through a graveyard late at night whistling to yourself. That's what church is like, going through a graveyard late at night whistling, because it makes you feel better. Everything's going to be just fine. Nobody's going to get you. And you're going through the graveyard whistling to make yourself, to self-assure yourself that everything is fine and you'll be home and nobody will get you. And so therefore you believe everything is fine. You don't know anything. And so it occurred to me at a very early age. Adults are filled with lies, deception, and they learn their lies from other adults who raised them. And their adults, their children, their parents didn't know what was going on. And their grandparents who, they learned from, they didn't know anything. Great-grandparents didn't know anything. And so today we have 7.5 billion people today that are like old Christmas tree lights. Half of them don't work and the rest are not that bright. And consequently, we are being misled in every department, in government, banking, commerce, law, education. Every possible institution is being led by people, adults who don't know they're behind from a hole in the ground. They don't know what they're talking about. Cops will tell you all about the law, and then when you go read it, it doesn't say that at all. Or what's even worse is that you go into court and you've got all the laws printed, and there it is in black and white, and you read it to the court, and the judge will tell you, I don't care about that, just sit down and shut up. So the courts don't mean anything about law because they don't care about law. And the judges don't care about the law. All they care about is they're getting paid to do their job, and their job is to keep you quiet and submission, to make sure you're in compliance. And so I've watched the whole world go to hell on color TV for many years. But I started talking about how much people don't know back in 1959. That's when I was 19 years old, and it began to occur to me, after all my experiences in childhood, growing up, all the things I had seen and experienced. I pretty well at 19 had it nailed down in my mind. I'm not about to, it was just my feeling. I don't want to get married. I don't want to have a beautiful home. I don't want to go on big vacations. I don't want to live high. I'm going to dedicate myself to one thing, poverty, to having nothing. I want to read and study every day, all day long. I want to investigate what I want to investigate. I want to study the subjects that are interesting to me. And nobody else in town knows what I'm talking about, and I don't care, because I'm only interested in what I'm interested in. So I grew up that way from 19 years old, and I'm almost 78 today. I've always been concerned with all sorts of subjects that most people don't even know exist. I have no idea in the world what the implications of their ignorance really is.
In all fairness, a lot of us know a lot about these things now because of your work. It's all over the web, millions of views, millions, thousands of views. We all know what's going on now. The problem is we don't know who's doing it.
Yep, I know. Well, it's true, because back in 1960, I was giving lectures in mom and pop bookstores and little Christian bookstores and libraries. I'd print up flyers for a lecture I was giving. I'd print up about 100 of them. I'd spend about a week roaming around towns, putting the little flyers up that I was going to be speaking at this little bookstore, this library room or whatever, and I'd get about 20 or 30 people, there, and I would talk just off the top of my head and show them pictures of what I was talking about secret societies, the Knights Templars, how the Masonic orders work, the secret symbols in Washington, D.C., the banking institutions of the world, how they work, and what these symbols mean, and the colors, and all the different dark stuff going on behind world of religion and government. And so I fell somehow or another. I started by chance. I don't know. I believe it was a spirit that was doing it to me. But I fell into meeting all kinds of impressive, important people for some reason. I had nothing. I'm a nobody. I was born and raised with nothing. I'll leave this world with nothing. But I was very fortunate to find myself in the company of very powerful people for some reason. I look back on it now, and I think that was God's idea. I think that was a spiritual matrix which was putting me in places to learn things because I wanted to know so bad. It put me there. And so I began to have experiences that were so extraordinary. Meeting people, they would tell me things about my life and about life in general. And it's been one hell of a journey for the past 60 years of my life. 59 years I've been doing what I do. And like you said, today it's all over. Well, I know. I've had so many invitations in Hollywood to participate in videos and movies and National Treasure 2. They wanted me to have a cameo appearance in the movie. I turned it down. I've had some of the major studios and major names that you wouldn't even believe that I know asked me to come and be advisor or consultant to major motion picture companies, and I turned them down. A lot of money involved, but I turned them down. I have nothing, and I'm not interested in the money. And so I turned them down because I don't feel qualified. I don't feel important. I just feel like I am, just a normal man that's fascinated with all the dark stuff that people don't know. And so that's what I do. That's why I'm here. And now we see a lot of the stuff I've been talking about over the years. Because, I used to do, I don't know if I told you this, but I used to do a lot of slide presentations many years ago, back in the 70s and early 80s. I used to go to motion picture sound stages, motion picture studios, and give lectures to whoever was there. And they would, some of the people on the inside would leave a permit for me at the gate to come in, and I'd come in with the slide projector and a bunch of slides and documents that I photocopied for everybody, and I'd go into these studios in the evening. There wouldn't be anybody there of any real importance, but there would be camera people and stage hands and other, and just generally the working class people. And they'd set up a screen for me, and I would talk about the secret societies of the Illuminati and how they worked, and the world communist movement, the world fascists, and how the Nazis were connected directly to Russia behind the scenes. And that was my favorite subject, was all the darkness in politics that people didn't know anything about. How we look at Russia, and they're supposedly horrible enemies of the Germans.
They're our best
and yet
buddies.
It was the Germans and the Russians were working together on everything. Just like we and Russia today and China today, we're working with them. But we're not supposed to know that. We're all supposed to be too stupid to know that.
Yeah, the political shows are they're out of control right now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
People don't believe, because Trump is such a rebel, that he is one of them.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry to tell you, folks, if you're in that White House, you got to be one of them.
Yeah, you're not going to be in there very long if you are, so. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of obvious that something's going on. I mean, and I have really listened to as many shows and videos about you. A lot of people in the chat room have. And what I've noticed, Jordan, is it seems to, we got to go to break here in a second, but it seems to me that as you were going on this journey, you kept having encounters with, I guess you could say, either strange and odd beings or criminals, or just more stuff kept happening to you as you went along.
Oh God, you have no idea in the world what I've had to deal with. You have no idea. I haven't even begun to tell the world what's happened to me. But I've had over and over and over for years, people coming in and saying, "Oh, that was terrible. We heard this and that happened to you. Oh, that was terrible. Let us help you. We want to help you." And so I let them come into my private life, and I tell them private things about me, and then they turn around, and before I know it, they've stole my bank account. They stole my clothes. They stole everything I owned. They took everything I've worked for and left me for dead with nothing, and starving on the street with nothing. Right now, for the past 29 years, since 1989, I'm homeless. I don't have a home. I don't have a family. I got nothing. Zero. My wife left me. I have no children. I have no background. I have nothing. Zero, nothing. And the reason why is because I've never seen myself as important. I just do what I do and try and help my fellow man to educate himself, and that's all I do. And I've spent my whole life pursuing knowledge. And now I find out at 78 years old that while I was pursuing knowledge, everybody else was on skateboards and going to ball games and having a good time. And then they grow up and go into business and making a lot of money. And I'm still just going to the universities and seminary libraries and reading and studying and talking to all the experts behind, that people don't even know exist. And so today I got what I wanted. I wanted to know. I wanted knowledge and wisdom and understanding. But I had to pay a price for it. So I paid the price of having nothing today. No family, no background, no credit cards, no checking book, no zero, nothing. I'm living in a place where right now I'm living with a friend who's given me a room to live in because I have no home. I don't have any place to live. And so, but I do have dear friends who care about me, who know me. And so they give me a place to live and help me to stay alive and do what I do. But I'm telling you, if you want to know a little something about if you want to know a little information about some subject, well, just look in the encyclopedia or dictionary and read what you can. Talk to other people you think that might know. Or if you want to know, actually, you want to know, I want to know more. I want to get deeper into the subject. Well, okay, then you can buy some special books and read and go on the web and listen to lectures on that subject. No, I really want to know the whole subject. Okay, well, then you can join a university, go to college, and, it's going to cost you a lot of money to go to college. But if you're And so the bottom line is that you're going to get what you pay for. If you want to know something, you're going to pay a little bit. You want to know more, you're going to pay more. You want to know the real truth, well, you're going to wish to hell you'd have never been born.
Well, it sounds like
you're going to end up at 78 years old with nothing.
Sounds like you paid a lot for it. And we're going to talk about some of this truth when we get back, guys. Jordan Maxwell's with us. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
To Lighting the Void Radio.
This is Reverend John M. Polk from johnpolkmedia.com, and you are listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM.
The Fringe FM has some of the best shows in paranormal, like Lighting the Void, The Paranormal Code, Into the Paranormal, The Secret Teachings, and so much more.
Yeah, baby!
We're live every night with hours of live original programming. Plus, we air some of the best shows in this genre, and we're not afraid to tell it like it is.
I want the truth!
Check us out at thefringe.fm. Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
This is Reverend John M. Polk from johnpolkmedia.com, and you can listen to my show, The Quantum Hologram Matrix, every Thursday night. ETs, UFOs, metaphysics, the paranormal, and more are some of the many topics we will cover on The Quantum Hologram Matrix. Make sure you bring your higher concentric multidimensional selves. That's every Thursday night, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here on The Fringe FM.
Ew, yuck. They're unhealthy. Bugs. I hate bugs. Our home is clean, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. From contact, it kills bugs. Plus, Orange Guard kills hidden bugs and keeps new bugs away for weeks. The ingredients in Orange Guard are on the FDA generally regarded as safe list. So Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com and Ace Hardware.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's naturesyouth.com.
Yahoy there. This is Gigi from Shift Happens. And holy shit, you're listening to KTLK, The Fringe FM. Hey, don't you dare turn that
The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. We are here with Jordan Maxwell from JordanMaxwellShow.com. If you haven't been to the website, you need to go check it out. There's a blog there, JordanMaxwellShow.com/blog, and you can check out all the research and all the hard work that Jordan has done. Like I said, and what we talked about in the first part of the show is we did a brief history of pretty much everything he's been through, what he's had to go through to get to this knowledge, and is still going through to this day. And I respect that. I've kind of lived it a little bit myself, but nowhere near that this man has. And, I was listening to another show, Jordan, and I'm big into reading, sacred text, Masonic stuff. I find it's beautiful teachings, but yet, why is it hidden? But anyways, you were talking about how a guy from the, Council of 33rd, which I'd never heard about, said that they were not only watching you, but they were protecting you and allowing you to do these things. And that's pretty much what I got from all that. That was kind of freaky to hear.
Well, actually, I was that was not supposed to go out. And my dear friend who was recording me, that was recorded in Europe. I was in Europe at the time, and some people wanted to hear some of my personal experiences. And my dear friend, he had the camera and everything, so he said, well, let me videotape all of this that you're going to talk about. So I talked for about, 2.5, 3 hours about some of my experiences. Well, I told him there was 2 or 3 experiences that I did not want ever to be played. You can play them after I leave this world. But while I'm still here, I don't want anyone to hear these stories. But I'll tell you. And he said, I won't put nothing out until you tell me. So I talked about some things that I did not want the world to hear. Unfortunately, he made a mistake, because he's a human. He made a mistake, and he put in a couple of the stories that I did not want. And I didn't know anything about it until months later, when it was out there and everybody in the world's heard it. Then somebody asked me about, what happened? I heard this show, and you said this and that, and I thought to myself, my God, how did you know that? Oh, it's out there on the web. Everybody's hearing it.
Oh, no.
And so I called him, and he made a mistake. And I can't blame him, because we all make mistakes. But he put something out I did not want out there, because I know the people who hate me and want to destroy my name, destroy my work, with belligerency and calling me names and trying to destroy my reputation, my name, and my work. And if I give them any little thing that I have done, I know what's going to happen. They're going to take that and run with it and cram it down your throat. Jordan Maxwell said this, and that. I never said that. No, Jordan Maxwell did this and that, and he said this and that. No. And so I realize that there are people out there who are mentally deranged, and they want me dead. They want my message. They want my work destroyed. They don't want to hear me. And so they will wait for something. Just hear something that somebody came up with. Somebody out there will come up with some off-the-wall idea about who I am and what I've done, and I'm working for the government, I'm a CIA agent or whatever. And then they will go out and falsely accuse me in public of something, whatever the hell it is. They'll accuse me of it, and now all of my enemies will jump on that, and now we're going to bury Jordan Maxwell. We finally got him. Now we're going to bury him. And then later on, after my name is ruined, my work is ruined, my whole life is destroyed, then we find out, no, the person was just lying. He was just trying to make me look bad. Well, he did.
Yeah,
and so
after it's too late. Right.
So I've had this happen to me all my life. So.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't have brought it up if I knew that, but I will say this, that to me, it was obvious that you weren't stating at all that you were working with anybody or doing anything conspicuous or bad. It's just you were you had questions, and things happened to you, and you just couldn't believe it. That's all. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Did I ever tell you about my girlfriend I met when I was 19 years old?
Yeah, you briefly told us about it, that you her dad had...
Well, I mean, if you want me to, I'll tell the audience again,
sure.
Because I think it really is important for people to know the kind of experiences that I've had since I was 19 years old. I mean, I grew up as a child with all sorts of strange otherworld things happening to me, and seeing things and going out of body and all that kind of thing when I was a kid. But when I got out to Los Angeles, I ended up in Los Angeles and at the age of 19 years old. And I don't know why I had to come to L.A. I just had a passion to go to Los Angeles. So I did. I left home and went to L.A. And when I got here, I settled down in a little town called North Hollywood, which is just a few miles from Hollywood. And but it was back in 1959. It was just a small little town. And so one morning, I used to go to breakfast downtown, but I was only 2 blocks from downtown. I lived 2 blocks from downtown, and it was such a small little place. Only about 4 blocks was downtown street. And so I would walk down there and have breakfast sometimes on the weekend. One morning, I went into the restaurant, North Hollywood, 1959, and there was no room anywhere. There was standing room only, except one chair at the bar at the counter. And so I went and sat in the one chair, and there was a girl sitting next to me. I was 19; she was probably 17 or so. And so we started talking. We liked each other. And so after breakfast, we took a walk downtown together and roamed around town for a few hours. And then we decided to go home. And so I started meeting her on Saturdays at the restaurant for breakfast. Then we'd hang out together for a few hours, and we'd walk home. Well, I only lived about 2 blocks from town, and she lived about 3 blocks from town, but she lived right there by me. She just lived one block further than I did. And so every time we would go home, she knew where I was going. She knew where I lived. But I never really followed her home, so I didn't know exactly where she lived. But I knew it was only a block. And one night she came over to me one evening about 9 o'clock. She's knocking on my door, and she said, "My dad wants to talk to you. My father wants to see you. He said he's got something to tell you." And I said, I'm not interested to talk to your dad. And she said, "Well, he's a very important man, and he has something to tell you. That's all I know." So I said, "Okay, that sounded interesting." So I said, "All right." So I followed her home. And when we were getting to her house, her father happened by chance to be coming out the front door, and he saw us coming up the walk. And he motioned for us to come on in, and he was very nice, but I could tell there was something strange about him because the hair on the back of my neck rose up, and my spirit told me there was something about this guy that wasn't right. I just felt it. And so we went in the house, and my girlfriend sits on the floor. She's got a younger sister, and the 2 girls are sitting on the floor, and the father's sitting on one end of a long sofa, and I'm sitting on the opposite end of the sofa. The mother was in the kitchen or somewhere in the house. I never saw her that night. And so we're sitting there talking. The father and I are talking. And I'm feeling a little better about him, though I really have the suspicion there's something about him that's not right. But I liked him. He was really nice. And so he was talking to me about, do you like, are you working? Yeah. Do you like your job? Yeah. And this and that, and how you like the weather and all that. So I was feeling much better talking to him because he's talking about simple things that I can understand. And then after a few minutes of us just chatting about stuff, he said to me, he said, remember back in Florida when you were about 8 years old and your father built a new back porch? Remember the back porch was falling apart and your dad tore the old back porch down and he built a new back porch with your uncle. And he used green lumber. Do you remember that? And that scared me, and I really was legitimately frightened because I didn't want to show tears in front of my girlfriend, but he scared me. And he said, well, did that happen? And I said, yes, that happened. And he said, well, remember when you were in bed one night after he built the back porch and you were supposed to be sleeping and you got up out of bed and you went out in the back porch, didn't you? And the moon was full. Do you remember doing that? And I just looked at him and shook my head. Yes, I remember that. And he said, and you talked to God. You looked up at the moon and you talked to God, didn't you? And I looked at him and I didn't know what to say because he was scaring me more and more. I knew there was something about this guy, but now I know he knows things about me that there's no way he could know. And he said, well, did you go out in the back porch? And I said, yes. And he said, and you were picking pieces of the lumber with your fingernail because the lumber smelled funny. It was green lumber and it smelled funny at night. Do you remember doing that? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, and what did you do? You talked to God, didn't you? And I just looked at him and he said, and what did you say to God? And I didn't say anything. I was really nervous. And he said, I'll tell you what you said. And he told me exactly what I said. He said, you told God that you wanted your life to have a meaning. You wanted to do something with your life that you have a life to live, to do something important. And then he looked at me and he said, is that what you said? And I said, yes, that's what I said. And he said, well, we heard you. Now, that's why you're here in California. Why did you come to Los Angeles? And I said, I don't know. I just had to come here. He said, that's right. We brought you here. And I looked at him. I said, who are you talking about? We. He said, did the things I tell you happen? Did they actually happen? Yes. Am I correct on what I said? Yes. Then how would I know that if I wasn't there? And I said, I didn't see anybody. He said, of course you didn't see us, but we've been watching you for a long time. And then he said, we have something for you to do for us. After all, you did ask God to let you do something, so we're going to let you do something. And he said, but it won't come to the last part of your life. We have something for you to do, but it won't happen to the very last part of your life, and we will decide what that will be. We'll decide when you are to do something for us. And so he said, so we know that you are very interested in UFOs and aliens and all kinds of strange subjects like that, aren't you? And I said, yes, I am. And he said, well, would you like to see some UFOs up close tonight? And I said, yes, I would. And he said, well, come with me. Come with me and I will show you. So the two girls got up. The father and I got up. The four of us went out into the yard. It was about midnight. And he looks up into the sky and he starts talking inaudibly. His lips are moving. He's obviously talking to somebody, but you can't hear him. And he turned to me and said, they said they'll be here in about 1 minute. They're coming from southeast, from Griffith Park. They're coming this way, and they'll be here in a couple of moments. And I said, who are you talking about? He said, you said you wanted to see UFOs. Yeah. Well, then give me a minute. They'll be here in a moment. And sure enough, about a minute and a half to 2 minutes later, they showed up. There were three huge full moon size crap. I don't know what they were, but they were glowing different colors and making no sound whatsoever. And they came over the top of our house, where we were, his house, and they stopped right over the top of us, and their colors were changing, and it was an incredible array of beautiful colors on these 3 full moon-sized discs, making no sound, and I was just amazed at the beauty of this thing. And I looked at him, and he just smiled and said, "They're beautiful, aren't they?" And I said, "Oh, God, yes, they're beautiful. Who are they?" And he said, "Well, that's us, and we brought you here. We have something for you to do." And then he said, he looks at, and the girls look at me, and I'm looking at them. And then he said, "They said that they're going now, but they'll see you later. They're leaving." And they did. They started to move northward, and we watched them. It didn't take very long, and they were gone out of sight. And then he said, "Well, that's us, and you go home now." And he said, "I'm going to give you a book to read because I'm going to begin your event. I'm going to start you on your destiny tonight, and I'm going to start you on where you're going to go with your life. I have a book I want you to read, and then you come back and we'll talk later." And so he gave me a book. The name of the book was called The Complete Works of Charles Fort. And I took that book home. I was amazed and blown away by that book.
Yeah, I read it since the last time you told me about it, Jordan. Yeah. And, it's not about, what I found out with Fort's work is, it isn't about what you know, just like you say. It's about what you don't know. And are you asking the right questions?
Boy, you got that right.
And Charles Fort could ask questions that would blow your mind.
You're right. That's exactly right. But that got me started on the world of the occult, the unseen. The word occult simply means unseen. Doesn't mean anything evil. Look it up in the dictionary. Occult is something that's hidden. It's unseen. Well, all real knowledge and wisdom and real truth is hidden. It's hidden from you. You got to knock and it will be open, and seek and you will find, and ask and it will be given. Even the Bible says that God works in strange ways to keep things in secret, and it's in the pleasure of a king to find out the dark secrets of the Divine One, dark secrets of God. Well, I've been out there doing it for 60 years now. I'm telling you, I have found out some stuff that'll blow your mind. So I just try and help my fellow man to wake up to how much he really doesn't know about the world we live in.
I believe that's in Isaiah, where he talks about that.
Yeah.
And not only does he say that, but here's what perplexes me, Jordan. In Isaiah, he talks about how he creates good and evil, and every way you can interpret that. I've heard people say, well, that's a different, no, that's what he says. In Greek, Hebrew, whatever you want to look at. I created the light, the dark, the good, and the evil. All of it. And
well,
I'm
if you
keeping
think
it hidden
about
from
it
you
logically,
too.
Yeah, if you think about it logically, that's obvious. That's obvious.
Right.
God creates everything. Well, then what about the evil? Yeah, he created that too. But what about the black widow spiders and the boa constrictors and the snakes and the bats that drink blood, the blood drinking bats? What about all the horrible diseased creatures and animals that that are deadly? Well, God created them too. So God says, I created all. I create the good, the evil, the bad. I create life. I create death. I cause wars. I cause death. I cause it all. I do it all, period. If it's in the universe, yeah, I did it.
Right. And I believe the other verse was, and I will give you hidden treasures and then secrets in dark places. So you'll know that I am the God of Israel.
That's right.
And I'm thinking, what? Okay. I do reference other books besides the Bible because I'm a researcher, but I think the more when people talk about aliens, I used to laugh and be like, yeah, God's an alien, and just croak out laughing, right? But now I can honestly say that could very well be true. Maybe not the God of the universe, but whatever created this thing could be an alien,
Yeah. Well, if you ask a 7 or 8 year old child, Christian child, Do you believe in God? Yeah. Well, where is God? And they'll point out there. Well, you're pointing out there. Is that where God is? Yeah, God's out there. Do you believe in angels? Yeah. Well, where are the angels? Well, they're out there too. They're out there with God. Well, out there, if you're talking to some kid in the United States, if you're talking to some kid in China, that's on the other side of the earth, and he's pointing out there, then if God is out there, I got news for you. He's not from Texas. He's from out there, and that means it's extraterrestrial. And then when you start going into the Bible and actually read it and study it instead of just hearing about it from somebody who doesn't even know how to read or think, but if you read it yourself and get an education and learn what the words mean and get an etymology dictionary and really study what the Genesis has to say about the creation, it will scare you how much you didn't see. It will frighten you how much you didn't know that's in the Bible in front of you, in your face, and you didn't see it. Why? Because you don't care. It's not important. You just want to feel holy, so you just thumb through the scriptures and go to the church, and it makes you feel good because it's like a Boy Scouts or a Girl Scouts, a campfire girls. It's just a little social arrangement to make you feel happy that you're around your friends. You don't know anything about God. You don't understand nothing about the universe. As a matter of fact, you don't know much about anything. And so therefore, you're just a believer. And so I found out a long time ago, I don't want to be a believer. I want to know. So I started dedicating and devoting my whole life to studying all the dark stuff. And my God, I had no idea in the world how deep the darkness goes in this world.
Well, because of your work and people like yourself, there's a lot of theories out there now. There's the cabal, there's reptilians, there's avians, there's archons. I'm just curious, out of all of these things that people say, the darkness that's here, do you find that any of these theories are closer than the other?
Well, first of all, I would say you have to study something for many years to know what I'm talking about. But when I hear people use the term Luciferian, that the Illuminati are Luciferians, and Lucifer is the devil and all that. Well, if you do some actual research, if you go to a seminary library, like they have some big ones in Los Angeles, I lived there for weeks and months on end, years on end. I was going to all these big seminary libraries and going through the encyclopedias and reference works of the encyclopedias of religion, Judaism, Christian, Catholic encyclopedias, and do the research on what the ancient and what the experts are breaking down the words and the etymology of words and where it came from and what it means. Then you will find that Lucifer has nothing whatsoever at all to do with the devil. People think Lucifer is another name for the devil. I'm sorry, it is not. And you will not hear anyone who is well educated, well informed, and well read talking about theology, and they will not tell you that Lucifer is the devil, because all the reference work that you can find, dictionaries and encyclopedias of the Bible and of religion, will tell you Lucifer has nothing whatsoever, period, to do with the devil. And then you begin to really do some research on Lucifer, and then you will find out that actually in the Bible there's only one place the word Lucifer is found. And it's in the book of Isaiah 14:12 through 14. And then you find that the word Lucifer is actually, the reference works will tell you, is actually Jesus. Jesus himself said, I am Lucifer. It's in the book of Revelation 22:16. Go and read it for the first time in your life. Do something really strange and interesting. Read a book.
Well, you answered a very huge question. Do you remember Bill Cooper, Jordan?
Oh, of course. Bill Cooper and I were very good friends. I knew him. I used to do his radio shows. Sometimes we would go to seminars and events together. I knew him well.
Great guy. He did his research too, just like you, right? And he would, but the one thing when he started his Mystery Teachings radio show, which I love, by the way, if you guys hadn't heard it, you should listen to it, and Jordan's old radio shows, is that it perplexed him because he was a Christian. He had that agenda, you know, but I got Christian friends too, so I understand. But he admitted on air, I do not know why both Jesus and Lucifer are called the morning star. I don't understand it. And at least he was honest, and he admitted it. You know.
Yeah, and I had long conversations with him. Now, there's a lot of people out there today on YouTube and on the web will tell you they're born-again Christians who have never read a book. No, they have no background in theology. They have no understanding of theological terms and concepts and where words come from. But they will tell you that, Bill Cooper really exposed Jordan Maxwell as an Illuminati. Jordan Maxwell is an Illuminati, and he's a devil worshiper, and Bill Cooper really exposed him. So I think he exposed me. We had dinner at Mesa, Arizona, at a big conference we were speaking at, and he asked me if I could come up in his room with and he had a whole radio thing all set up, and there's about 10 people. We all went up into Bill Cooper's room, and he did, I think, 2 hours, 2 one-hour shows with me. He just sat there on the side of the bed, and he had all the recording setting up stuff all set up. And I sat there and talked about Lucifer and talked about the word Lucifer and where it came from and what it meant and all of that. And then I hear later, boy, Bill Cooper really exposed Jordan Maxwell as a Luciferian. And you go back and listen and you think, what are you talking about? He asked me to explain what the word Lucifer meant. Where did it come from? I told him. And now people are saying, boy, Jordan Maxwell's a Luciferian. And Bill Cooper really exposed him. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? People like that need to have their head examined. Listen to the interview yourself. Listen to it yourself and see if he exposed Jordan Maxwell. He didn't expose me. We were close friends. We were speaking on the same platform together. So anyway, I mean, I've had enough of the ignorant, ill-informed, unread, dim-witted people who, only because I am exposing their false religious beliefs and their ignorance and ill-informed stupidity, that they have to reach out in an ad hominem attack on my name and my person and my family and my work.
Well, let's just do this real quick.
They haven't been able to answer my charges of what I'm saying about history. They just call me a fool.
Let's do this real quick. If everybody, all of you guys that believe in the court system, right? Let's take Jordan's work about what he's saying about Lucifer. And we're not even talking about well, I guess we could call this evidence circumstantial. But if the charge in court was, are they calling themselves the same thing? Are they representing themselves as the same thing? Is Lucifer misrepresented in religion big time? I believe Brother Maxwell would win that case in court.
Yes, yeah. I know I would, because I have all the facts. I've been looking at it and studying it. I just didn't hear about it from somebody who went to church one day and heard that a preacher who has never read anything in his life, and he happened to be the preacher because he was the only one there that was old enough to be a preacher, so he became the pastor of the church. And then you find out he doesn't know anything. He flunked it. He flunked out of school, and he's going to now tell you all about Jesus and all about the church. And where did he get it all from? Well, he read it. Somebody told him to read this book, and then you could be a preacher. And boy, when you find out what the real story in the Bible actually is, it's going to shock you. Things you've never heard before that the Bible is actually saying to you, and what religion really is, and where it came from. Where did I said this so many times. People go to church and have no idea in the world where the word church actually comes from. They think they understand it. Oh, it's just a group of holy people going to talk about the Lord. No, I said, where did the word church come from? What is the etymology of the word church? Well, most people don't need to know because they're sure they know what it means. No, you don't know what it means. And you'll be shocked when you find out what it really means. And then we talk about how Jesus is the Christ and talking about Jesus Christ all day, but nobody seems to know where the word Christ comes from and what it actually is all about when you look at the etymology of the word Christ and go back to the encyclopedias and dictionaries, Catholic Encyclopedia, Encyclopedia Judica, the Jewish Encyclopedia, and go into the seminary libraries and spend weeks and days and months and years in seminary libraries photocopying documents, reading, cross-referencing words, cross-referencing the etymology of terms and words in religion. My God, what a study that is. And that's why I say the people who are the teachers of religion today are absolutely shameful. Absolutely shameful. People in religion today are teaching the young people who come to know about God, and they're giving them some silly-ass story that was developed about 500 years ago in the Vatican in Europe that has nothing to do with first-century Christianity at all. I mean, the whole story of Christianity today is so far removed from original Christianity that you would not even believe how far they have slipped. Today's Christianity has nothing to do with Christianity 2,000 years ago. It is a fact that is taught in colleges and universities. It's a fact of life that there was in the beginnings of Christianity, when the Christian church was first being formed, for the first 600 years of Christianity, first 600 years of Christianity, there was no cross in the temples or in the churches, no crosses whatsoever. And it was only 600 years, almost 700 years after the start of Christianity, that the church finally began to have on the altars a cross with a man hanging on the cross. 700 years after Christianity had already been in Europe and in the Middle East, now for the first time after 700 years of Christianity, they finally came up with a man hanging on a cross. But nobody seems to know that, and it really doesn't matter because nobody seems to care. Until you start, wake up. What are you talking about? There was no man on a cross. What was the story of Christianity? Oh, well, now you're getting into the history. Have you ever read history? No, I don't read at all. I'm stupid. I sit and watch television all day, and I drink beer all night, and I watch the Dodgers, but I don't know from nothing. I just go out and shoot my mouth off about my religion, but I don't know anything. So once you wake up and find out how much you don't know, and all the words that you thought were holy, you have no idea what these words really meant in the ancient world.
Well, we went right through the break there, but I don't care. We'll just have to deal with it on that one. That's okay, because I felt like what you were saying is important. A lot of people won't touch that, Jordan. They'll touch aliens. They'll touch virtual universe. They'll touch everything. They'll touch, reptilians. But when it comes to the Luciferian idea, anybody to stand in the face of a crowd and to say what you just said explains a lot of, to me, a lot of why you've been through what you've been through.
Yep. And I'm telling you, you raise your head up out of a crowd, because today, all over the world, what's in fashion today is communism. Marxist-Leninist Soviet communism, meaning we are in a community, which gives us that word community is communism, which means that we all have to believe the same thing. We're all in the community. There's a black community. There's the gay community. There is the academic community, meaning it's a communism. We're all common. We're all just common people. None of us have an education. None of us understand what words mean. None of us has ever done anything of any value in our whole life. So we love each other because we're all broke, useless, nobody knows anything, and we're all happy because we can go to the baseball game and drink beer and have a hot dog and watch the whole world go to hell on color TV because we're all common people. I don't like to be common people. I want to be uncommon.
Well, you
I want to
definitely
stand
are.
on my own, and I want to do something for the human race. So when I die, my name will live on, and I did something for the human family. I woke the world up to what was going on. I don't care to be common. You know, and it's incredible how many people, well, we're just common people. You're not common. Human beings are not common. We're not common anywhere.
Do you think that we're getting better, though, Jordan? Do you think that we're, I don't want to say evolving, but we're waking up a little bit more than we used to? I mean, it seems to me that a lot of us are, but now we're arguing all over the conspiracies now instead of, that's what it seems to me like now. But I'm in this community, so maybe it's just my perception.
Yeah. Well, I understand. People tell me all the time, well, you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I said, yes, airhead, it's a train coming. Yeah, it's a light at the end of the tunnel. You have no idea in the world what's coming to America soon. You think all the stuff that's going on right now and all the corruption that's coming out and the things that Trump is doing, you think it's just by chance? You better go back and do some homework and go back to the 1800s and read about the people who were writing about Trump and his son, Barron Trump. There were books written about Trump back in the 1800s, talking about what was going to happen at the end times when America is about to go under and be destroyed. Then they talk about a man called Trump, and he will have a son. And incredible stuff like that is sitting in your face, and you don't see it. So once you begin to realize that the world you live in has been understood for a long time, who you are, why you're here, and where you're going. But that kind of knowledge, of course, is like George Carlin said, it's part of a big club, and you ain't in the club, so you don't need to know nothing. But your masters who run this planet and the people who own America, they own you. They own your body. Your very body is a security on the New York Stock Exchange. Did you know that your wife and your son and your brother and your husband, their lives, their very lives, their flesh and blood bodies are on the New York Stock Exchange? Did you know that? No, most people don't know that. Did you know how much the stock that contains your body? Do you know how much it's worth? How many millions of dollars you're worth on the New York Stock Exchange? Did you know anything about that? No. Why? Because you're ignorant, ill-informed, unread, and you're so full of beer and watching basketball that you didn't know that you were a multi-millionaire. You just didn't know it. Somebody else is selling your body. Incredible. And so, when you wake up and find out what's really going on in this country and how it actually works, it's an incredible story that you're not going to believe anyway. If somebody did show it to you, it's going to be hard to even believe that this was going on right in front of you all these years and you never saw it. So
I don't know how to say this any other way than bluntly, but what do you say to people, Jordan, that say, wow, you know, Jordan Maxwell, you're saying that you're smart and we're all ignorant. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that the whole entire world, the Bible says, the world of mankind is lying in the power of the evil one, the devil. God says, my people are dying from a lack of knowledge. The Apostle Paul says in the Bible, the Apostle Paul said, have I become your enemy because I tell you the truth? The scriptures are filled with admonitions from God and from the leaders of Christianity saying the people are dying from a lack of knowledge. They have no knowledge. They cannot do anything. They don't understand anything, so they're going to be raped and plundered and used and manipulated, and you're never going to be able to figure out who your enemy is or how they're destroying your life, your morals, your family, your marriage. Your whole world is being destroyed in front of you, and it's so overwhelming and obvious once you find out what the name of the tune is and how this stuff has been played for over 2,000 years. My God, there's so much has been known about the world we live in, who's controlling it, and people 500 years ago were talking about what was going to happen today, and it was exactly correct. And you'd be surprised how much has been known in ancient history about us today. We call it prophecy, where people are always ranting and raving about prophecy, but you should see the real prophecy stuff that you've never heard before, where people 500 years ago were talking about what was coming to us. So I'm just telling you, I'm not complaining that everybody is stupid and I'm smart. What I'm trying to tell you is that I learned at 9 years old, some 60 years ago, I learned that adults do not know what's going on. They are always paying, they're always paying doctors and lawyers, to help them to understand the law. My God.
We're caught up in a lot of games. And a lot of games. I explain that to my son every day. My son gets into something every day. And the first thing he asks me, Jordan, is, that doesn't make sense. Why are we doing this? Or why this or why that? And what I got to tell him is, what my dad used to say is, that's the way it is. But what I'm telling you, son, is I know it don't make sense. But here's what's going to happen. And I would explain to him, you got two choices. You do this, and this is what's going to happen, cause and effect. You play the game, and this is what's going to happen. You figure out what you want to do. I'm just telling you, just don't get mad when you don't play the game and you get the adverse effect,
And just remember that every good deed every good deed is punishable. And you will be punished for any good deed you do. If you've studied medicine and you become a very important doctor, and you discover something about human sickness that you have discovered that could cure this sickness forever, you will go to prison. In America, you will go to jail. They will throw you into prison. And there was a man back in the 30s and 40s in America named, what was his name? Royal Rife. That was his name. Royal-Riff, I think it was. Royal Rife, R-F-E. Royal Rife was a ordinary man, just like anybody else. He was just an ordinary man who was actually brilliant. The guy was incredibly smart, but he's just an ordinary guy. And so he built a microscope that was so powerful that it could see inside the life of a germ, something that's not even, you can't see with your human eye. He had a microscope that could see a germ's life. He could see it. And he discovered that all germs are susceptible to electrical shock, just like you are. If you get shocked in playing with electricity and it shocks you, well, all diseases are caused by unseen creatures we call disease germs. And these germs are susceptible and they react to electricity. And so he started experimenting on the different kinds of germs and how much electricity it would take to kill that germ electrically. And then he began to write it all down and codify it. And now he had a machine that he could electrically shoot electricity into a germ and kill it. But all different germs were different frequencies. So he figured them all out. And then he was able now to kill any germ you have, any cancer, any cold, anything you have that is a disease, he'd kill it instantly. You go to him, you put the electrical prods on you, turn up the electricity, you feel it in your body, and then you go home. That's it. It's gone forever.
So he had
It's
a
all
cure to
gone.
the common cold. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yeah, he had the understanding of all kinds of germs.
Okay.
And how to kill the germs. So anything that is caused as a disease caused by germs, Royal Rife understood the whole world of germs and how to kill them. So the point I'm making is that he could kill any disease electrically. And so and then you go and read what happened to him. Read what happened to him.
He probably got crushed like the electric car.
That's right. He got crushed like the electric car and the pill that you could drop in a bucket of water and it becomes gasoline. And we know that we've had too many experiences with that where people have got a pill and they take it and they put the pill in a container of water and then they put it into an engine and the engine runs great. All you need to do is fill your tank up with water and drop this pill in, and you could go across the country on water, on a couple of gallons of water. So I'm saying, but how many people can do that today? Nobody. Why? Because they don't want you knowing that. It's none of your business. It's a big club, and you ain't in the club. So you just mind your own business. You're not supposed to know anything about that.
Do you think that there are actual, as far as, because I believe the same thing. I believe anytime someone comes around me and pretends to know everything, they got to answer for everything, right? They know everything. I get so annoyed. But, somebody out there has to know something. Look at all the research and study you've done. And all you've found is more, you found more doorways, and this doorway led to the next doorway, and it was just a eye-opening experience for you. Right. But we still don't know who's running the show. Is there what I mean is, do you believe there are humans on this planet right now, humans, not aliens, that know exactly what's going on and that are working with, let's say, other beings or something above them?
Yep. I think that's exactly right. I think that there are people on this earth who also are very important people who run the planet behind the scenes, but they're not human. That's a whole story in itself. We could do another 3 hours just on that, on what the Bible says about extraterrestrials coming here and looking like humans, and how they are manipulating and exploiting our ignorance because they look like us. And so if they look like us, well, then they're just regular humans. No, they're not just regular humans. Thank you. They're not just regular humans. The Bible said they've come from out there. They're extraterrestrial, but they look like humans. And they're built like you. And their women look like women. But you need to wake up and find out that's what the Bible said. God said, come, let us make man in our image after our likeness. That's in Genesis. And so Christians will tell you, well, there it is, right there in black and white, that God created man. I've had rabbis as far back as 1960. I had one of the most important rabbis in America I was talking with. And he said to me, there is no place in the Old Testament that you call the Old Testament, in the Torah, in the book of the law, what we call the Old Testament. And he said there is no place in the Old Testament that says God created man. That's your idea. That's your church's idea. It doesn't say that in Hebrew. There is no place that says God created man. And I said, well, what about in Genesis 1 where it says God said, come, let us make man in our image and our likeness? He said, no, you're reading it wrong. You're reading it typical of a Christian who doesn't know what you're talking about. Go back and look at the sentence and break it down correctly. Go back to an English class and read English first and understand what is being said. And when you hear that God said, come, let us make man in our image after our likeness. Well, there it is. God's making man. No. Rabbi said, no, here is the way you should understand it. God says, come, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Not make man. Man's already here. But come, let us make man to look like us, to look like us and be like us. And then later on, the next chapter of Genesis, it says that God said, now look at man. He has become as one of us. Now look what we've done. We created him to look like us and to be in our image and likeness so that we can now go down and intermingle with the women and we can have sex with the women. Why? Because he's like us. Man and the woman is now like us. So we got our female goddesses, but we don't need the female goddesses. We'll go down the world. The earth is filled with females. And so now man has become like us. He looks like us. He talks like us. He eats food like we do. Go back and look at the story of Abraham and Sarah in Genesis 18. Read it. I mean, there's a whole story. I would need at least 3 hours. If you want to do that one day, we could do a 3-hour show where I will tell you from Genesis 1 all the way through what the Bible is actually saying about God, G-O-D, which is dog, spelled all backwards. What the Bible is actually saying, the etymology of the words, where the story has come from. And once you begin to see the actual real story, it has no relations to anything you've ever heard before. But there it is in print with all the reference works and all the encyclopedias bearing witness to what I'm saying is your understanding of God is totally lacking. You have no idea in the world what the word God means. It's a whole different story that people just do not know. And so it's about time this kind of subject is finally brought out into the public for the first time, and people see that the churches have been teaching people lies, deception, innuendos. It's incredible how much we have licked up from the trough of religion and government today. We've licked up all of these stories, never realizing there's nothing to these stories. They've all been dreamt up during the Middle Ages and sold to us. And if you want to understand what Christianity really is, go back to the 1st century and look at the history of Christianity when it was founded and what it was founded on and how did the church actually operate. Well, there was no church for 600 years. Well, how did the Christians operate for the first 600 years? Oh, that's good. Now you're starting to ask some intelligent questions.
Mm-hmm. There's a good movie out called Agora, where I think a lot of people need to watch. It's kind of it's about what Jordan's talking about, where Hypatia was at what was left of. Hypatia was a female philosopher who taught students philosophy. In other words, they were, seeking knowledge, but never claimed to know the answers. And the Christians and the Jews and the Muslims and everybody overrun that place and made these laws. They ended up killing the woman. I'm just telling you, you need to watch. There's so much to that movie, though. And it's very brief. It doesn't explain everything as Jordan's talking about, but it's really sad when you think about it, because even in history, Jordan, in Greece and before then, the Ptolemaic period, there were always seekers like yourself. And look what happened to them.
Yep. They all were burned at the stake. They were beheaded. The heads chopped off. They were wrapped around. They would tie them to wooden posts and put sticks under them and set it on fire and watch them burn to death. And why? Because you were causing trouble for the king and for the emperor. The emperor's people are now, the young people across the country are now rising up, and they want to know the real truth. Well, the real truth is the king is just a criminal like everybody else. Well, but now the people are beginning to look at all of the darkness that we've been taught and find out that it's all been lies from day one. The government, the churches, the religions. My God, what a story that is when you start breaking down the different religious belief systems in this world and where they come from. And I'll give you a hint. The same people who have given you world government, the same people who have set up and given you world commerce, world banking, the same people who will give you degrees from the Caesar, from government Caesar, giving you degrees in world education, colleges and universities. The same people who are giving you the world of all of these instruments that we live with are the same people who gave you your religions and your religious belief systems and came up with all the religious stories. The Knights Templars, the Knights of the Knights of St. Louis. They give you all of these Masonic stories coming out of the ancient and prehistoric world. And they're metaphors. They're just symbolic stories coming out of Egypt, coming out of India.
Mm-hmm.
I've said Christianity and Judaism and Islam are all based on the Islam, especially Islam, Christianity, Judaism is based on Hinduism. All three of the major religions today come directly out of India, Hinduism. And now when you start doing your homework and you see it, it will shock you. There it is. Everything you believe in Christianity is Hindu.
Let's take a break on that. And you know what, Jordan, like you said earlier, I found that out when I went to college. And it wasn't even a big, fat, fancy college. It was just a 2-year school. I took world religion. And it showed me that Hinduism was the oldest religion on the planet.
That's right.
All you got to do is just go to college. That's it. Get an education. That's all. That's all he's saying. We'll be right back, guys.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
What's up? This is James Tues. You listen to KTLK The Fringe FM.
This is Mary Ellen Popick of the Sanctuary for Mind, Body, and Spirit. Listen on the Fringe FM every Monday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk all things mind, body, and spirit. You'll learn things from the esoteric to modern-day health, as well as hear from incredible special guests. There will be something for everyone each week, so don't miss it. That's every Monday night, 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the Fringe FM. See you there.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Want to know what's on the Fringe FM? Check out our schedule at thefringe.fm.
Hi, this is Ryan Gable, host of the Secret Teachings radio show. If you are interested in ancient knowledge and hidden mysteries, as well as a unique and balanced perspective on conspiracies, symbols, and the occult, then join me every Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fringe FM.
Shipping and processing, return postage extra, auto ship and other terms apply. Ladies, here's a number that could really scare you. It scares me. 46. That's 46 million women who suffer from hair loss. That's more than 1 in 3 of us. If your hair is shedding, breaking, thinning, even falling out, you need to do something about it now because it will get worse. Some of the hair you lose will never grow back, so you can't afford to wait any longer. Here's the good news. Keranique, the #1 women's hair regrowth system in America and bestseller at Ulta stores nationwide that's clinically proven to thicken, strengthen, and repair hair is letting 1 million women try Keranique risk-free through this special radio offer. Just dial *243 on your mobile phone to try Keranique risk-free for a full 30 days. You don't have to accept hair loss. You can take control to reverse hair loss and grow back your hair. Just dial *243 right now to start regrowing the thicker, fuller hair you love. Dial *243 to try Keranique for yourself risk-free. Hurry, this offer will not last long. Dial * and the number 243. Dial *243.
How you doing today, guys? This is Garrett Lee. And this is Randy Warner from the Healers and Hellraisers podcast, a podcast about people. You're going to hear stories from the enlightening to the frightening, told by those who lived it. Listen right here on the Fringe FM.
Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and on the Fringe Free-For-All, right here on the Fringe FM. We've heard your feedback loud and clear. You called it out, and now we're answering. All new live programming, 5 nights a week. Always remember, the Fringe FM is for you, the listener, and we appreciate your feedback. Keep the feedback coming. You can email us at talkback@thefringe.fm, call the station at 501-777-5631, or send us a message on Facebook at The Fringe FM.
My name is David. I suffered from MS, or multiple sclerosis symptoms, since 1986. For years, doctors tried to help, but didn't give me any real hope. I tried almost everything. I was afraid this was my future, but I did not give up hope. 8 years ago, a healthcare worker told me about Regenistem. I called Regenistem. Regenistem explained how stem cells worked. No promises, just a simple explanation of the science. They treated me with respect and understood my journey. For the first time, I felt hope. Now I can jog and snow ski once again. It's been amazing. I have been symptom-free of multiple sclerosis for 8 years. I have learned that stem cell therapy has a broad range of medical therapy, from COPD to chronic pain and diabetic neuropathy. It's an amazing therapy. If you want to talk about your chronic pain or your chronic symptoms, call Regenistem today.
Call 305-224-1858. That's 305-224-1858. 305-224-1858.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
This is Cortana from Shift Happens, telling you to pour a glass and park your ass, because you're listening to KTLK, the Fringe FM. Shifthead.
Welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm here with Jordan Maxwell. Make sure you go check out all his work. JordanMaxwellShow.com. Jordan Maxwell Show /blog. Fascinating work. Thank you so much, Jordan. I know you're going to be here with us for another 20 minutes or so, and then a friend of mine, and you've been on his show too, Ryan Gable, is going to come on in the third hour with us. So I, from the Secret Teachings, there's a question in the chat that I really wanted to ask, and it's a guy that follows you, Jordan. He said he's been following you for a long time. His name is Will. And he asked, he said, can Jordan talk about, grays and archons and reptilians? And he claims this Will guy, he's a good guy. He says he's a Christian. And he's kind of upset about that we're just bashing Christianity. And I don't think, and I'll let Jordan say this, I don't think he's saying Jesus was a bad guy. But I'll let you explain it, Jordan. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Well, I think, first of all, the words which are attributed to Jesus in the New Testament are brilliant and beautiful and profoundly spiritual insight, human insight. The words are extraordinary. I have the highest of respect for God. So people want to say I'm atheist and I don't believe in God. No, I don't need to believe in God. I know there's a God. I know that there's a great spiritual presence in the universe, but I understand it intellectually. I have looked at the words gone back 5,000 to 6,000 years in history to see what the ancient people said about the divine presence of a higher knowledge and higher technology in this universe that men have called God. And God is simply the word dog spelled backwards. And if you take the word evil, E-V-I-L, and put a D in front of it, like David, put a D in front of evil, it becomes devil. And you take an O out of good, and it becomes God. God is good, and devil is evil. Words, but you understand that words are this is what we live by. Humans live by words. And so all day long, you've got people who have never studied any subject. They don't know anything about the subject, and they're telling you what they think. And so if you are foolish enough to go along with what they say, they think, well, here's what I see about God. And you say, oh, well, that sounds interesting. So that's what I believe. Then you find out, yeah, but the guy you talked to, he didn't have enough brains to pour pee out of a boot. This guy's got no background, no understanding of the words, terms, the concepts, the belief systems of the ancient world. He has nothing, no background in the etymology of religion and words, and he just told you about God because he's the minister in your church, and you buy into it, and you never realize how much you didn't know. In the ancient Greek world, in the ancient Greek language, God is T-H-E-O, Theo. And so there are many Greek men with the name Theo. God in Greek is T-H-E. So if I were working for the President of the United States, and you're working for another man, and we're sitting in a bar talking, and you say, well, I work for this man. And I say, I work for the man. The meaning the top man. So he's not a man, he's the man. And so the, T-H-E, is a name for God in the Greek world. So T-H-E is a word for God. All right, so in the ancient world, the Greeks would go to what they called a theater. A theater is a God show. And so they would go to an open air theater, a Greek theater, and they would go and they would sit and listen to plays. Then the Greeks would put on these plays and shows, and they would have different people playing good and evil, and dark and kings and all kinds of strange people, and how they reacted with each other. And so the audience in ancient Greece would go to a theater, which was a God show. And they would tell you about God and what you should do, what you should not do, how you should live, your morals, your ethics, your scruples. And they would teach you about godly things. And so today you have a church, which is a theater. It's a God show. You go into the show, you pay the money, and they give you a sandwich and whatever, and then the minister comes out, and everybody rises like you do in a courtroom. Everyone rises when the priest comes in. That's because it's a courtroom, and it has to do with God, because that's what happens in the courtroom. Everyone rises because the judge represents God. You don't think so? Wait till you go before him. And so therefore he's wearing a black robe. The judges wear a black robe. Well, so do Catholic priests. So does Darth Vader. So does Dracula wear a black robe. So do the demons and movies. They wear black robes. That's why judges wear black robes, because black robes represent the planet Saturn. Wake up, do some homework, and you will see black robes represent the priest of the planet Saturn. Saturn is the god of the Jews today. The Jewish religion is based on Saturn now. There's been 7 different religious foundations of the ancient world which have been molded into one religion, but it's based on 7 ancient religions. And today we call that one religion, which is actually 7 different religions, we call it Judaism. And so the Jews are worshiping the planet Saturn right now, in the past 1,000 years. But before that, they worshiped the moon. Before that, they worshiped the stars. And all the time they're worshiping all kinds of things. So when you hear that the Jews were God's chosen people and that they were the first monotheistic religion. Mono means one. Theo means God. So they're the monotheistic people. They were the worshipers of one God. No, nothing could be further from the truth. If you go to encyclopedias and read, you will find the Jews were worshiping at least 7 different religions have been put together to make what we call today the Jewish religion. And so how are you to understand that the Jews were the worshipers of one God? Well, if you go back to the ancient Jewish writings and the ancient rabbinical writings and spend a year or two just reading what the ancient ones said, that there was, in point of fact, no ancient Israel ever existed. There was no ancient Israel. There was no King Solomon, King David. Some of the ancient Bibles, and I do mean old English Bibles, if you go back to them, you will see that everywhere in the New Testament that the Bible is talking about King David. In the old translations, it wasn't David. It was King Druid. D-R-U-I-D, King Druid, not King David. And so Druid becomes David. No, it's Druid. And the Druid people were in north, east, west, and south Europe. Northern Europe, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and Southern Europe were all ruled before the Roman Empire by people called the Druids. The Druids were the politicians, the doctors, the lawyers. And so the Druids were what we call the white people. This is where the white man came from Europe, the Druids. One of the most important symbols in the white man or Druid symbolism in the ancient world was a magic wand, like Merlin, the magician with his magic wand, and the orchestra leader, the orchestra conductor with his magic wand, and he's waving his wand, and you play to his music, not yours. And so the magic wand was a symbol for Druid power in the ancient Europe, northeast, west, and southern Europe. And that's where we get the word news, N-E-W-S, northeast, west, and south Europe. And so anything in the north, east, west, or south is news. And the Druids had the magic wands, which were made out of the
holly tree.
It was made out of the holly tree. It's made out of Hollywood. And so once you begin to see how this world you live in was really put together, what the words mean, why do you have Druids? Why do you have Hollywood? Why do you have banks? Banks are on both sides of a river. They're called river banks. And what does a river bank do? It directs the flow of your currency, because it's the current, ebb and flow. Money comes in, money goes out. They breathe in, it breathes out. So it's a current. And so the banks are on both sides of a river. They direct the current or the currency. I'm just telling you that it's the whole world is a mystery. When you get into the dark mysteries of words and terms and where you've come from, what your family, who they were, what their names meant in the ancient world, and then you find out today your children. Your children are on the New York Stock Exchange, and their bodies are being bought and sold. You are being bought and sold on the New York Stock Exchange, and you don't even know it. So, my feeling is just keep on watching the basketball game and the pinball machines and all that, and keep playing the games with your little telephones and all that games. Keep you busy playing your games, while the guys who run this world are vicious. They're rapists, murdering, vicious criminals.
And they're they're raping your time. Your game. That's what they're doing. You only got so much time. All they got to do is occupy it.
That's it. So they give you football, basketball, kickerball, soccer ball, pinball, golf ball, bowling ball. Why? Because all the sports in the Western world are based on a ball. Golf ball, tennis ball, ping pong ball, kicker ball, soccer ball, croquet ball, everything's a ball, playing with a ball. Why?
Fortnite.
Because that's what animals like to do. Children and animals and puppies and dogs and people, they all like to play with a ball. So,
well, you know, I did talk to Lon Malo Duquette, who wrote a book on Solomonic magic, and he said, you know, before I wrote this book, I wanted to go out and do a little history for the forward of my book. So he did a lot of studying, he told me, on the show, to try to find the history of Solomon and King David and all that stuff, and come to find out it doesn't exist. That's what he said.
They never have existed. They never have existed. And there was no ancient Israel. Israel never existed. Israel and the history of Israel is an AD religion. There was nothing in BC of Israel ever, period. Zero. Nothing. So there was no ancient Israel. There was no King David or King Saul or King or Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. None of those people ever lived. It's just a story.
So what do you think that they're trying to hide from us, Jordan? Is there something about us that they don't, whatever they are, whoever they are, that they don't want us to know? Because that's what I feel. I feel like there's something that we can do, or some type of potential we haven't tapped into yet, that maybe they just don't want us to know about. That's exactly right. The people who are running this planet, they have already got it set up. They have the stock market set up, their media set up with newspapers, magazines, television. They have everything set up. It's been working for 1,000 years. We go back to during the Reformation and during the transformation of Europe, where they were setting up printing presses and putting together new things called churches and religious idols and gods and universities. And today, if you go to college, you don't know that the word college comes from the Roman collegia. A Roman collegia was where we get the word today, college. So you're going to send your kids to college. If you had a brain, you'd be dangerous. College comes from a Roman Latin Catholic word. Your government is a Roman Catholic Jesuit institution in Washington, D.C. Rome is an ancient Roman government. We call it the United States. My God, look at the history books and find out where did Caesar rule Rome, the Roman Empire from? Well, Caesar ruled the Roman Empire from Rome. But what was the seat of his power? Well, the seat of his power was on something called Capitoline Hill. And so Caesar would go up on Capitoline Hill, read it in a dictionary, encyclopedia. So today we still have Rome up on the hill. And so Caesar goes up on the hill, and he's going to participate in running the empire because he represents the Senate and the people of Rome up on the hill, Capitoline Hill or Capitol Hill. And we still have the Senate today up on the hill, Caesar. So we got people like Obama, who believes himself to be Tiberius Caesar, Emperor of the universe. Right. And then you see all these people who think they're pronounced presidents. No, they are God. They are the incarnation of the living, divine God of the creation of the world. Until somebody blows their head off or kick their ass out. And so, that's what happens. They'll shoot him in the head, like they did with Caesar. The Senate finally had enough of Caesar talking about how he was God and he created the universe and all that crap, so they just stabbed him. The Senate turned on him and stabbed him and killed him themselves. And so today we still have up on the hill with the Senate, the Roman Senate is as corrupt as it's ever been. Give the people bread and circuses and keep them busy fighting each other. My God, how far gone the human family is. You could talk for 8 hours and tell people how the world works, but they don't care. They just don't care. As long as their bellies are full and their beer is cold and their favorite team is playing, they don't care what's going on in the world until the cops come and arrest them and they're taken to prison or taken before the judge. Now they want to call Jordan Maxwell. I get all kinds of people emailing me daily. Really?
Jordan, I need to talk to you. I've been charged with this and that, and there's a 25-year prison term, and I need to talk to you. bad. What's going on here? I don't understand the words it's saying. What's happening? Can you explain it to me? And I'm thinking, are you kidding? You know, you're on the very last lap of your life, and you're going to prison for 25 years, and you want me to explain the world? Come on, wake up. You should have been awake a long time ago. I was talking 50 years ago, Jack, and you weren't listening. And I've been talking for the past 50 years, and you're still not listening. But now that your ass is in trouble, now you want to call me. Get Jordan on the phone and find out what's going on. Well, I got news for you. I'm too old now. I'm 78 years old. I'm not going to be here much longer. You should have come to me a long time ago when I was young and could spend all day talking to you for nothing for free. This is what I do. I talk for free everywhere. I'm not making anything. I'm broke.
Really?
I live on Social Security of $700 a month in somebody else's home, in somebody else's bedroom.
Well, how can we support you? I mean that from the bottom of my heart. If people want to help you and support you, how can they do that?
They can just go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, SHOW, JordanMaxwellShow.com. And when they go on Jordan Maxwell Show, you will see a button there on the right-hand side that says Help Support Jordan in His Work. Click here, and it says Donation. So just click the button that says Donation. It'll take you right to, donate whatever you want. There it is. All you got to do is just go on Jordan Maxwell Show and click Donate. It says Help Jordan Maxwell. Click here.
And also consider, guys, the vast... look, I've spent months on YouTube and other places, podcasts, radio shows, you name it, listening to Jordan's, and there's a lot of stuff he tells over and over again, but that's because it's important. But there's also a lot of stuff still to this day that I haven't heard about, and so you have to consider all of the information that he's given out, not just on this one program. Really, go look at it. It'll blow your mind. And we only got a couple minutes left here with you, Jordan. This is like the third time I've talked to you, and I love it. I'm so into what you're doing. I'm so sorry the way things have turned out, but the cause and effect is real. It is real. And it does remind me that the book Ecclesiastes, where whoever wrote that book was talking about, it seems like the more wisdom that I got, the more sorrowful I became.
Boy, you got that right. The more you learn, the more you're going to wish you'd have never been born, because you're going to find out things if you really are intellectually honest, which most people aren't. But if you're intellectually honest and you've got an open mind, because your mind is like a parachute, don't work if it's not open. But if you are man enough to face the truth, like the movie said, you can't handle the truth. And that's the problem, is that people can't handle the real truth. They don't want to hear the truth. They want to hear everything is nice and happy, and they're going to have their plenty of beer, and they're going to watch all the movies and all the television shows, and they're going to be very happy. Well, wait till this world comes falling down, and you wake up and find out you're in serious trouble, and it's coming big time now. This country is in very, very serious trouble.
I got
you
an
better
idea.
Wake up and be prepared for it, because America is going under quickly.
I want to propose this to you on air, Jordan, and you don't have to do it because I know you've been through a lot. But what if we, me and a couple of other hosts, did like a telethon for you live on the air? You don't even have to be here. Would you call it the Jordan Maxwell telethon?
I think that would be sensational. And then just be prepared to hear all of the really dark, dirty stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the real dirty, the sexual stuff that you didn't know was going on in churches and religion. All of the pornography and the child sex stuff that's going on in the church and the Vatican and Judaism. Really all the dirty stuff. I can tell you things about the church and Judaism that will blow your mind. And in Islam, where you can rent an 8-year-old, 7-year-old girl for the night, and you call it, and because you're Islamic, you can rent a child for the night.
That's terrible.
You pay their parents, and then you can say you are married to them, and therefore you can treat her like you're married. But she's only 7 years old. Yeah. Let me tell you, I've got stuff that will blow your mind you've never heard before.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been enlightening, to say the least. I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate you allowing me to come on. Let's do it. I think that's a great idea. Let's get a big show together, and I'll sit there and just unload on you all kinds of stuff.
Right on. There you go. And we'll do a call-in telethon, take donations. Let's help Jordan out. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm ready to do it. And thank you so much. We'll be in touch about that, for real. And again, it's been a pleasure, Jordan.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Jordan Maxwell, everybody. JordanMaxwellShow.com. Go check out the blog. There's a donate button there on the website, too. Go look at all the information. We'll be right back, guys. Ryan Gable's going to be here with us.
Every Saturday night, it's a show that engages the mind, makes you think, and maybe even challenge what you think you know. Hi, I'm Jeremy Scott of Into the Paranormal, where we talk about topics that are anything but mainstream, somewhere between abnormal and paranormal. Bring an open mind and join us for Into the Paranormal, live Saturdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on the Fringe FM.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
I'm getting older and noticing that my body just doesn't work as well as it used to. So I like to keep fit as possible by hitting the gym a few times a week. Recently, I started having a nagging bicep pain, and it got so bad I couldn't even lift the weights. When I was complaining about it to a friend, he told me about angioprim. He said chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in veins and arteries that may cause blockages. You know, after just 1 week of taking angioprim, the pain was gone, and now I'm back in the gym full strength. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. So to learn more, go to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com, or talk to a trained consultant. Call Angioprim toll free at 877-882-7221. You'll feel better with more energy. Call 877-882-7221 or go to the website angioprim.com.
Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply, and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
The Fringe FM has some of the best shows in paranormal, like Lighting the Void, The Paranormal Code, Into the Paranormal, The Secret Teachings, and so much more.
Yeah, baby!
We're live every night with hours of live original programming. Plus, we air some of the best shows in this genre, and we're not afraid to tell it like it is.
I want the truth!
Check us out at thefringe.fm. Follow The Fringe FM on Facebook and Twitter at The Fringe FM.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada.
1-800-588-0335 is the number. LightingTheVoid.com is the website. We just got through talking with Jordan Maxwell. Tomorrow night on the program, we're going to talk about something I've never talked about, which is the secret space program, but with David Adair. Not the usual company when this conversation comes up, but I promise you it's going to be a good one. Right now I have with me the host of The Secret Teachings, Ryan Gable, is with us in the third hour. You can call in if you have any questions or statements or anything you want to call in about. The phone lines are open, but Ryan, thank you so much for joining the program. I appreciate it.
You got it. It's wonderful to follow up the one and only Jordan Maxwell.
Yeah, how are you going to follow that, right?
I don't think that you can. I'll try, and we'll see where it goes from there.
You know, the one thing I find frustrating about Jordan's whole story is his whole story, because it feels like it's the same journey that I'm on, that others are on as well, where you go down this road, more doors open up, and you start finding out some of the stuff people told you is dark isn't really dark, and some of the stuff people told you is good isn't really good, and you keep just going down this winding labyrinth, and you're trying to find the Goblin King, like David Bowie in Labyrinth at the end of it, and that's the hardest part. Even Jordan can't identify the Goblin King.
It's like an archetypical journey that everybody goes on. Everybody proceeds on a different but very similar path, at least a similarly themed path. I was just looking at tarot cards today, and if you look at the major tarot cards, you can see a transition from the Fool to the end of the deck, where there's regeneration and rebirth, where there's a new world or a new age brought about through enlightenment. And that works, I think, personally, from my point of view, in the microcosm and the macrocosm. And so we all go through those ups and downs. Even in everyday life, we wake up in the morning, or maybe we wake up at night, depending on what jobs we have or what kind of work we do or what kind of things we like to do for fun, for hobbies. And so for someone like you and someone like me and many of the listeners who listen to this show and my show live, they might wake up really, really late in the afternoon, and they might go to bed really, really late at night. So either way, though, we're up during the day, we're asleep during the day, we're up during the night, we're asleep during the night. And that's a natural, progressive, cyclic thing that we experience every day. We experience every day, or at least every other day probably, periods of time where we're happy, periods of time where we're not so happy, where maybe we're upset, we're angry. Sometimes maybe we don't just feel happy, we're ecstatic. We are glowing. Maybe it's a feeling of love, or maybe it's a feeling of accomplishment. And so there are those ups and downs in everyday life. There are those ups and downs sometimes perhaps every hour of each day, every week, every month, every year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you see those are microcosms of life. Life has its quote-unquote ups and downs. That's perhaps a larger macrocosm of the microcosm of the experiences we have each day. And it's a very, very powerful thing, personally, I believe, when you study the subject of magic, because those types of understandings, as per the adjustment, the increasing and the lowering of energy based on attention, for example, if you were to, let's say, watch the Super Bowl, or you were to watch the Olympics, events where there are millions of people watching, millions and millions of people watching, events that get more viewership than any other thing broadcast around the world.
That's the time. That's a damn good time to cast the spell, don't you think?
It absolutely is. And so you obviously have, not just with sports, but you have in general with the theme of a halftime show or an opening ceremony, just like with a movie. You have ups and downs, you have a climax, and that's a very archetypical, natural, cyclic thing, but it's also used to, yes, cast a spell. It's used to perform a ritual. And I don't mean that in a very negative way. A ritual is in my personal view, a neutral term. However, it is used as a massive ritual. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be for evil or satanic or demonic or possessive purposes, but it is a very, very good time to demonstrate something like that, especially in the case of something like black magic, which I think, as you yourself probably know, black magic is extremely effective when the actions and parts of the ritual is carried out so that people are made consciously aware of what's happening to them. And not only made consciously aware, but made to, in a sense, as Aldous Huxley said, they're made to love their servitude. We're made to love to participate in our own destruction and our own demise. And that is the nature of reality. It seems to be the nature of reality, in a way, is ritualism. And that could mean a lot of different things.
Yeah, well, I'm I analyze everything. And I hang around people that analyze. Some of my best friends analyze everything. I'll just tell you that. And that's why I'm so drawn to occult work and stuff, because I get it, right? So look, everybody understands the placebo effect and the double-blind placebos. And if you take a pill and you believe, not the doctor's not asking you to believe, they're actually tricking your mind. You believe that it's the right pill, all of a sudden you're cured. Now, if that doesn't blow your mind, and I'm talking about from withdrawals, even addictions, and even a lot of diseases, your body just magically heals itself, even though the same elements weren't in that pill that was in the other one. So what does that tell you? That tells you that anything has to do to trick you, to trick your life, to change your life, to change everything about you and your experience. All we have to do is figure out how to change what you believe. And that's
how to change. That's exactly right. You can change what people think, how they think, what they believe, and even further, I think, why you believe something. I don't think we really question that very often, and that very much ties in with a lot of the things that Jordan talked about through the major part of the program tonight, is that a lot of the things that we think, we don't necessarily question why we think them. We don't necessarily have a moment where we think critically about what we believe and why we believe it. And when you start to address those things, in fact, David Icke, I think, made a great point about this one time. As an example, he said, if you want to see what you can believe and what you should believe, take a blank sheet of paper and divide it and write down what you know and what you can prove about your beliefs. And then things that you can't prove, whether you believe them or not, write them down on the other part of that divide on the paper and see what you can prove. Or he might have explained it another time in a different way. Just get a blank sheet of paper and write down what you actually know. And only what you know, not what you believe, but what you actually know. And see how much of what your beliefs are translates to physically demonstrating whether or not you have any proof to support what you believe and why you believe it. And that's really dangerous, and that, I think, especially now in today's political climate, as Jordan mentioned, communism, he talked about that on my show as well. Communism is an appropriate word. I've started to use the word Marxism more and more because that's a word that Jim Mars used on my show. One of the last times he was on was that he said this is a cultural Marxist agenda, a lot of the things that we see happening. And so because of that, whether we call it communism or Marxism, you see a lot of the people that go to these, I call them protests of the month, kind of like Book of the Month Club. It's like these people get sent a protest kit in the mail.
Oh, gosh.
And so they protest whatever it is the protest of the week. And I've personally done this myself. This isn't something I've watched videos of other people doing and thought that this is the case. When I lived in Boise, Idaho, I went down to the gun rallies, which were like an extension of the pro-women rallies, which were like an extension of Black Lives Matter, all these different rallies. And it was really the same people going down to them every time. You'd see some of the same people. And I'd ask questions about why they believe what they believe. And I wasn't disputing it. I was coming in as far as they knew, someone who believed what they believed. And if I would ask, as anybody else who may have done this might have experienced, you ask, why do you believe that? And just being questioned, even by somebody who you could, as an observer, you could see that nobody said I did or didn't believe anything. I just asked a protester why they were there, and immediately it is either a verbal, aggressive insult because they can't explain why they're there, or they ignore what you're saying. I mean, I've experienced that personally, even if that is only my experience and nobody else's experience. That's just a story to kind of explain along the theme of beliefs, is that a lot of us don't really question what we believe. And when we're questioned about what we believe, and we're questioned in a way that makes us observe it objectively as opposed to subjectively, when we have to remove emotions from it, that becomes very difficult when we identify with the ego, when we identify with the belief, as opposed to the necessary critical thinking skills that allow us to decipher information so that we can determine appropriately what we do believe, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I've gotten emails about Joe, and even I told you Leo Zagami said that, warned me, be careful, you're pushing a magical movement. The more I thought about it, I'm not really pushing a magical movement. I'm pushing a movement to become aware of it, to become aware of how you're influenced by your subconscious. I know some magicians, and by the way, if that Will McBride guy is still here, I want you to know that as far as Christ goes, I know some real Rosicrucians, not fake ones. I'm friends with some real ones, and they call Jesus, or they call him Yeshua, but they call him the Master. So he's not looked down upon in any kind of way by a lot of these people. But what I'm saying is I'm not trying to push a magical agenda. I'm trying to make people aware of how you can change your life by influencing your subconscious, and also being aware of how you're being influenced subconsciously, and it will empower you. Some of the most richest and successful people in the world, all the way to Napoleon Hill, to whoever you want to talk about, they knew that that's what it was about, that they had to change something in their subconscious to fix things. They had to change their programming. And people call it paradigms, shifts, you call it what you want. But you can't, you got to be able to, I guess, see the bigger picture. I guess is what I'm trying to say, Ryan.
Yeah, personally, I surround myself in dozens, if not, I guess if I counted them, probably hundreds, but dozens and dozens of symbols in my radio studio. And when I write a book, let's say I wrote my new book, Occult Arcana, I covered the front of it with symbols. And not because I necessarily believe, as if I'm using the cross, that I'm a Christian, or if I'm using a swastika that I'm a quote-unquote Nazi. I'm using symbols because, sure, other people have a right and have their own interpretation to believe whatever it is that they believe, and they're not necessarily any more correct or incorrect than I am, but those symbols have a powerful meaning to me in a way that might mean something different to somebody else. And I like to surround myself in numerous forms of symbolism, which comes in a lot more variety than we typically think. If we thought of a cross, if we thought of a pentagram, if we thought of an ankh, if we thought of a swastika, if we thought of a hammer and sickle, symbolism comes in the form of colors and animals, and right in front of us each and every day, the text on your computer screen, the text in the book that you're reading, the text online, everything is symbolism in that sense, because letters are symbols, numbers are symbols, etc., etc., etc. I know Jordan would talk about this as well, because numbers and letters, if you put them into a specific order, you get words and sentences, and you can explain things. And how do you put together words? You spell them. You cast spells with words. So words have a powerful, magical meaning because of that. And then when you write in a certain way and use words in a certain way, we call that cursive. You're cursing. You're putting a curse on somebody else, or casting a spell, casting a curse, however you say it. So words are very powerful because of that. And so in surrounding myself with symbols, I like to let them influence my subconscious by opening myself to interpretation, as opposed to having a specific bias towards a certain symbol because somebody said that's a bad symbol. Well, I don't believe that.
Right. And so once you figure out what influences your subconscious, then you can start working with that to influence your life. And that's what's called magic, whether you want to believe it or not. Now, if you don't believe me, there's a lot of hype even in our community, and I'm going to play just a little clip here to prove it to you, right? There is hype in our community, so I will tell you, if you want to see magic working at its darkest, watch where thousands of people are moving, especially in the media. Now, I'm not saying that successful people in the media are black magicians, but what I am saying is that some of them have a dark influence, right? And they don't even know it. They probably believe, like we talked about belief, think they're doing a good thing. Now, this is a clip from Josh Reeves from the Global Reality Channel, who is trying to convince people that, you know, one guy's saying one thing, and, you know, people, they've both been accused of being, what do you call it, CIA ops or whatever, and everybody kind of laughs at that. But they kind of admit it, too. They admit that they're working with people that influence your mind. Listen to this.
But that's cool. You got to sit there. This is my...
Hold on, let me get back started. Here we go.
And this is my experience with him. He'll tell you something that you got to sit there and go, what the am I doing sitting here? But that's cool. That's Alex, and we accept him for what the he is. I just thought there was a civil war starting today. I read on Twitter.
That's what he was saying.
War. The Democrats are going at it today, so somebody's shooting somebody.
So just to calm Alex down, nobody's telling me what to say. No one's telling me what to do. I'm not involved in the New World Order.
Who's the New World Order?
Just a comedian.
Enlighten me about the New World Order.
I'm not sure. I'm not
pause
involved,
again. Okay. Type in world government in crisis if Trump gets elected. Bono says the EU and world government systems are falling. The UN's falling. It's unelected big world government corporations coming in and controlling nation states. And people are pulling out of it all over the world. See what's happening with the Brexit? See what Trump's doing? We're not going to have a bunch of secret multinational groups controlling everything. And again, I could stop this tape 100 times because... Joe, I'm not saying anybody's telling you what to say. You're smart enough to know how to act and how to behave to have the system not censor you. That's the issue.
Here in just
yes, the global government is under attack.
That he works with the
Globalism
CIA.
is falling. It's the big global news, brother. I'm on the phone. I'm not going to brag, but I'm on the phone with European leaders on a routine basis talking about strategies for the future and asking me to help quarterback stuff in Europe. I don't have the money, the energy, the people. But I've got major leaders in Europe ready for InfoWars to come in and run major resistance operations in the PSYOPs divisions. And then I've got to sit here to my fellow Americans, drunk on entertainment and all the rest of it, making jokes about it. And I'm not saying Joe's doing that. I appreciate him and Joey, but you notice they just keep going, oh, there's supposed to be a civil war today. No, in the Civil War, the way the media was describing it wasn't coming. And I described that in my own video. Let's continue.
Now listen about what Joe Rogan did. He just admitted he worked with European leaders right there. World order type people. Alex Jones, your favorite guy.
We eating dinner with the other night. Were you in the New World Order?
Who's the dinner people?
The people you say you were eating with smart people.
Oh, they're just... These are all podcasters and former professors and all these different people that are doing different things together.
You scared me the other day, though. You had Eddie on the ropes, right? He was thinking you went back with the CIA.
What? What?
Yeah, you got people
Eddie?
on the ropes. Sure.
What are you talking about?
He's not going to the CIA. Who knows?
What?
Nothing.
So you see that, Ryan? Like, Joe's playing stupid. Alex is admitting, but both of these guys have talked to or are talking to people that are trying to influence them to influence us.
You remember that Karl Rove quote from about 14, 15 years ago? I think it was in the New York Times Magazine about creating reality. Does that ring any bells?
Say that again? Sorry.
No. It's okay. I believe it was a Karl Rove quote. He talked about how the United States is an empire. And he said that when we act as a country, we create our own reality. And while people are studying that reality, we will act again and create other new realities, which you can study too. But we will continue to create new realities. We create your reality.
How many people listen to Alex Jones and buy his stuff and all that? I mean, thousands, right? Joe Rogan, both. Alex is just, he's admitting right there in Josh Reeves' video that, hey, man, I'm on the phone with European leaders. And if you listen to the rest of that video, he also says, I'm on the phone with the CIA. He kind of admits that he talks to these people all the time, right? So either way, they're using this guy to influence him. And he probably don't even know how they're psyoping him. He probably doesn't even know how they're influencing him because it's cause and effect. You see, when you throw a rock in the water, it ripples, it gets bigger, cause and effect, which is an old Hermetic axiom. If you want to get to the masses, all you got to do is start with a big mouth. There it is right there. Two of them. And then Joey Diaz turns around and says, well, you were at dinner with some of these people that Joe Rogan, think about this for a second. If I said, Ryan, you were at dinner with some other people, who were they? If you had no secrets, you would tell me who they were, wouldn't you?
I'd probably tell you who they were, yeah.
Yeah,
unless it was a privacy thing, but yes.
But they're just podcasters and no. He's talking to a crowd of people that are talking about something, trying to influence people. The only difference is you got one guy admitting it and one guy hiding it, right? And here's the other thing. Now, in our community, in the conspiracy community, do you honestly think that they're not influencing the mouths in this community too? This show is nowhere big enough. I haven't talked to anybody special. and if it happens, I'll let you know. But I can promise you there are people in our community that are being influenced the same way. And just now, here recently, people are starting to wake up to it. And they still won't say the names on the air. I've talked to Greenwald, Stephen Bassett, you name it, who I've talked to. They still don't want to name names because they don't want to get involved with it and I don't blame them because they got their work set on something else and they just don't want to get involved with it. But everybody's aware of the lies and influences happening. Now, you could say, well, that's just lies. It's not magic. Buddy, if it influences 1 million people, it's magic.
It's magic, yeah. And another thing is, I don't know exactly who you're talking about specifically, but if I know you have, if anybody else has listened to my show, The Secret Teachings, if I become aware of, from personal experience, firsthand, or in another capacity, in another way, about somebody or a group acting in a way that is dishonest, then I call them out by name. And I've done that numerous times. On the subject of influencing people in that way, I wanted to, because I was thinking about this today, so interestingly enough, you bring this up, and you didn't talk to me before the show about the topic, so it's almost like a synchronicity in a sense, and I mean that in a legitimate way. If you have a look at, going back to what I said about the Super Bowl, I was talking to random people. I was actually sitting one time at a hotel, and I was doing some research on a Super Bowl halftime show from a couple of years ago. It was the 50th Super Bowl, so I think that was about 3 years ago, and Coldplay performed at that Super Bowl. Do you remember that Super Bowl halftime show?
Yeah, I actually I remember that because I was a big fan of Coldplay then.
Yes, and I knew who Coldplay was, but I didn't really listen to the music. But I had heard that very famous song where he mentioned St. Peter and the keys and things like that. And these people just randomly, these two girls randomly, it wasn't a flirtatious thing. They just looked at me and seemed like they were very interested in what I had in front of me and said, so what is that? What are you looking at there? And I said, it's symbolism and it's magic and it's a ritual. And I only talked to them for a few minutes. I tried to explain a few details. I said, well, here you can see, if you look from an aerial view, they literally built the stage of the halftime performance with Coldplay. They built it into the form of a giant golden cross. And then I said, in the center of that golden cross stage, which almost in a sense is like a Celtic cross, you have the center circle around the central point of the active and passive bars that make up the cross or the X. You have a circle stage, and that has TVs in it, and they're showing pictures of the sun. The sun is expanding, and then they'll cut to the sacred geometry of the flower of life and things like that. And Coldplay is literally standing in the center of the stage at the exact moment as he sings that famous song, when the sun comes up on the stage, on the cross, and Coldplay puts his arms out in a very common way that he does when he has his performances. And I said, that is Coldplay putting his arms out, crucified on the cross with the sun, something that Jordan could talk about for days and days and days.
Right.
He popularized this subject. Coldplay's putting his arms out, crucified, in a white shirt, by the way, crucified on the cross, literally on the cross with the sun. And they said, well, that's Coldplay always does that. I said, sure, Coldplay does do that. Coldplay sang that song about St. Peter calling his name and the keys. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I don't think Coldplay wrote that song to perform at the Super Bowl. What I think is the NFL decided, well, this is the golden game, the 50th game, the 50th Super Bowl, so we should have it in San Francisco where you have the Golden Gate Bridge and the two keys, the symbolism of the two keys, which were in the song with St. Peter and the two keys that was in the Coldplay song. The keys are sacred symbols of unlocking something secret. They are the keys that unlock the gates to heaven. And what is heaven paved with? We hear heaven is paved with streets of gold. So
and they just keep stacking it, too. That's the thing. They keep stacking and stacking it. And
exactly. That's my point, Joe.
Yeah, they keep stacking the magic. That's what magicians do. And we'll talk, me and Ryan are going to talk about, Ryan and I are going to talk about that when we come back. The phone lines are still open. It's 1-800-588-0335. We'll be right back.
Listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
Hey, Fringe FM listeners, guess what? TalkStream Live has just released a new paranormal app exclusively for the paranormal community called Paranormal Radio. Paranormal Radio has a great selection of streaming talk shows dealing with UFOs, the supernatural, sacred geometry, NDEs, and much more, including a network highly recommended, The Fringe FM. You can download Paranormal Radio right now from Google Play and the iTunes App Store.
Lighting the Void is proud to announce Mind and Magic's Protection and Defense Course for protection from magical and psychic attacks. This is not a joke. Magic practitioners are on the rise, and with that comes attacks from baneful or black magicians that try to harm or hurt others for their own selfish reasons. If you are not a believer in psychic attacks, then this isn't for you. If you are, and you want the power to defend yourself and your family and home, then I highly suggest you grab Freighter Xavier's Protection and Defense course. In this course, you will learn how to tell if you are under attack from a natural source or if an individual is attacking you. The 4 forms of curses and attacks. How to remove self-imposed curses. The correct way to cleanse your home from negativity or malevolent entities. How to make your own holy water. What you should always keep near or under your bed. Herbs that banish negativity and promote purity. The most powerful banishing rituals on the planet. And for those that seem to want to harm you the most, how to put your enemies in a hell pit of their own making. You can also learn protection against shadow people and other entities. Or are you just in a bad planetary alignment? Even how to get rid of an enemy using a tic-tac box. It does not matter what your faith or belief is, this will work. Click the banner on the website at lightingthevoid.com or go to lightingthevoid.com/Xavier. Hey, Fringe FM listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
Select Joe Roop at checkout at ancientlifeoil.com.
This is Reverend John M. Polk from johnpolkmedia.com, and you can listen to my show, The Quantum Hologram Matrix, every Thursday night. ETs, UFOs, metaphysics, the paranormal, and more are some of the many topics we will cover on The Quantum Hologram Matrix. Make sure you bring your higher concentric multidimensional selves. That's every Thursday night, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here on The Fringe FM.
How you doing today, guys? This is Garrett Lee.
And this is Randy Warner.
We're the hosts of Healers and Hellraisers, and you're listening to The Fringe FM.
The truth is out there.
There's something out here.
And so are we. KTLK Digital Broadcasting, The Fringe FM.
Phone lines are open if you dare call in. If you can also chat with us, too. Phone line number, I keep forgetting to give that out, is 1-800-588-0335. Ryan Gable from the Secret Teachings is with us. We're talking after Jordan Maxwell was with us as well, but we're talking about how symbolism and occult things influence us, but also I do want you to realize that I am not speaking out against magic because I believe, and Ryan knows I believe this, that each and every one of you is practicing magic, whether you know it or not. It's only when you become aware of your potential that it has been hidden from you by the cabal or whatever you want to call it. When you become aware of that you become empowered. And I think that's they call it the secrets of heaven in the Bible, whatever. Why is it so secret? Why does whatever this is out there, why does it not want you to know your potential? Because you're not worthy? Because you're not ready to know the truth? Who gets to decide that? I don't know if you remember a band called the Blue Oyster Cult, but I'm sure you do know what a one-hit wonder is. Now, you remember Ryan Jordan was talking about Saturn, right?
That's right.
Saturn. What does Saturn represent in the occult? Many things. It represents lead, the word no, stop, death. Everything that limits, that's the great limiter is Saturn. It's the end, right? Now, if you were to, let's just say you understood magic and you did what some of these people do, which is, I guess, personify or glorify one of the ancient gods like Saturn, because Saturn is the ancient, where do you think you get the word Saturday from, right? In a way that people are unaware, but you're influencing a lot of people and glorifying that concept, archon, God, whatever you want to call it. That one-hit wonder might actually make you millions. And I know you guys remember this one-hit wonder, right? You can listen to the lyric in that song. you can look at the cover and they're holding the tarot cards, and pay real close attention to the tarot cards that they're holding on the front of. There's so much symbolism on the front of that cover, by the way. So much. And what's he talking about? The seasons don't fear the reaper. Nature doesn't fear the reaper. Saturn, death, time, no, the limiter, the great limiter. We can be like they are with no fear. And in magic, they teach you that fear is the enemy. Now, they made that whole song about this, right? And a lot of people think he's talking about a girl, but what he's really doing, whether he's unaware of it, I believe they were aware of it, because look at the cover of the album, right? All of a sudden, they're millionaires. They influenced people. Now they got money. Funny how that works. As long as they're exonerating an ancient god.
Interesting also, going back to what I said about the Super Bowl back in, 2016? I think it was 2016 with Coldplay. His album for that year was a hexagon on a very colorful background, and in the center of the hexagon was the flower of life, and then in the left and right corner at the top and the bottom of that album, so in all four corners, you had literally a colorful depiction of the planet Saturn. And what is Saturn? Saturn is, as you said, many, many things. Saturn is lead. The symbol of lead is essentially the Seal of Solomon. It's an inverted and upright triangle that are unclosed, kind of like two V's that are superimposed over each other. And Saturn is the reaper. Saturn is Father Time. The old stories of Saturn, the Roman god, is that Saturn would sit in fields and he would speed time up to watch flowers die. He was the destroyer, the reaper, death. But then he would also reverse time, or rather reinvent a new time, or regenerate time, rather, I think would be the best word. So then the flowers would bloom again. So death is a necessary part of life, making Saturn, to some, I see it this way, in some capacity, Saturn is a necessary evil as well. So there are numerous interpretations, but you're exactly right. I've heard that song before. I didn't think much of that, but I'm going to go back and listen to that, and I'm sure I could do a show on that, I'm sure now. Well, that's exactly
I don't interpret it very good, Ryan, but there's a magician on YouTube called Frederick Xavier, who's one of my favorite people to watch. I promote one of his products, the Psychic Protection and Defense course, and he talks about all of the little, intricacies and the semantics of it all, and give some other examples of occultists that figured this stuff out. And so now when you talk about the Super Bowl, these people, what a good magician does, what they first learn how to do these rituals in secret and in private, and you've seen the sign of silence, the Harpocrat, which it's a bigger meaning, to keep your mouth shut, right? You don't want everybody knowing. But a good magician can do a ritual right in front of you, or put a sigil right in front of you, which charges their magic when you look at it, because it hits your subconscious or whatever, and that's how it works. But what I'm saying is I don't actually look at this from a dark point of view all the time. You just need to be aware that it's happening, and it's been happening for a while. You don't have to change your religion. You can still be a Christian, a Muslim, or whatever, and still understand the fundamental laws of the universe and what's happening, and be able to do these things. 330 area code, you're on the air.
Hey, Joe, it's Moonlight.
Hey, what's up, Moonlight?
How you doing tonight?
Moonlit light?
I can't... Yeah, whatever. Just call me Mooney. I can't believe you're picking on Blue Oyster Cult.
No, I'm not picking on them. That's not what I'm doing.
You called him a one-hit wonder, man.
Well, Burning for You was not a bad song, but come on. Nobody, if you think
What?
Go ahead.
What about Godzilla?
Godzilla sucked. That song sucked, brother.
Oh, man.
Ryan, do you even know what song he's talking about?
I don't.
See?
I didn't
it
grow up with
sucked.
that kind of music, so I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not picking on them. All I'm saying is, if you look at the cover, they're occultists. They became fully aware of it. The one song they have that exonerates one of the 7 ancient gods, which is all in religion, it's even in your Bible, it's in everything, got them quite a bit of money, and it influenced a lot of people. It's catchy, right? I bet some of you are trying to get that song out of your head right now.
I am.
Oh God, no. They were definitely on the radio all the time. FM radio, they were on there. They were constantly being played. If you turned on an FM radio station for 2 or 3 hours in a night, you heard it played one time every night.
But to Ryan's point, Moonlit, is that if you do it in front of look, how many people watch the Super Bowl? And then you fill it full of occult symbols, and we wonder why these people are getting what they want. You know these people can't sing. Let's compare the music that we have now to the music back then. How in the hell are these people getting famous? How? It ain't by talent, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just on their image and on their following.
It's subconscious influence, brother. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Artificiality.
And,
but I'm not picking on your band.
Well, that was the first concert I ever went to see.
Oh, really?
And it was and April Wine, which was a Canadian heavy metal band, opened up for him, and it was just kind of funny. And yeah, the symbolism of their entire show was, off the charts. And,
yeah, I'm sure it was.
But anyways, yeah, that was they were one of the the spookier bands back in the day, and but yeah, they were a trip, and that was great show though.
Well,
but I just wanted to get in there.
Thanks for your call, brother. I appreciate it. Boy, you were about to rip my head off if I was going to call them evil, wasn't you?
Yeah, I was going to get in there, man. They're a good band, and I enjoyed them a lot. But anyways, have a good one, man.
You too. No, but I'm just talking about how this influences people, right? Sometimes we get into analyzing every little thing. Like Ryan, he can tell you every little magical detail. You should listen to the show because you pick up on so many things that I miss, right? That I miss, and I just missed it. Like the other night, you did a show about the black goo, which I really had no idea what that was about. And you got into Stranger Things, and I kind of knew there was some symbolism there, but I didn't know that they were going to call the show something else. What was the name of it?
It was going to be, I believe one of the names was Montauk, because it was based off the Montauk Project. It was going to actually be shot in New York, very close to the actual Air Force installation.
You believe that, right? So, in other words, can you believe that? They were going to name it after Project Montauk, and they wouldn't let them.
Actually, Clyde Lewis and I did a huge show on it on Ground Zero, and then I did another show. I expanded on some things. I don't think I even took commercials during my show, so it was like 3 hours of raw content after I did the show with Clyde, where I expanded on some of those details. Clyde and I were on the same page on almost everything, but one thing I didn't know was that the Duffer Brothers, who wrote and created Stranger Things, had actually written something. It was their proposal to the studios. It was called the Montauk Bible. And interestingly enough, because I've studied this my entire life, I didn't grow up in any other environment. I've always been doing this at least since I turned 18 years old. So I grew up studying these things and learning about MK Ultra and MK Search and the Montauk Project and the Phoenix Project and the Philadelphia Experiment and things like that. And so in understanding that, like I'm sure many of you do, if you watch shows like that, they're very powerful, I think, for a lot of reasons. Number one, I think it speaks to us subconsciously, and we know that a lot of the things in that show are true. Number two, for whatever the reason might be, because of that or something else or a combination of many things, it's powerful because it's magical, and it does speak to us on a subconscious level, regardless of what the reason for that speaking to us on the subconscious level is. And when I watched it for the first time, it wasn't popular. It had just come out, and I sat down and watched it, and I thought, this is really strange. Like, there's no explanation about what this show's really about in terms of it being related to these government programs, but I know that's MK Ultra. And the remote viewing, they're opening portals up to other dimensions. That's the Montauk Project, the Phoenix Project. And I thought all of those things, and I told the person I was watching it with at the time, and they didn't know what I was talking about. And then it turns out that the Duffer Brothers actually wrote that in their Montauk Bible the proposal where it was based off of all of these government projects, all these government programs. Even in the show, they mentioned the MK Ultra experiments. And interestingly enough, I find this stuff so fascinating. I'm going to do some more shows on this in the future, Joe, because this is a really, really powerful subject. The Department of Energy is in control. The Department of Energy opens the portal to the other dimension, the other world. And I know there's a huge correlation there between the Stranger Things show, between Pixar movies like Monsters Incorporated.
Yeah.
Even like I've never personally seen Twin Peaks, but I've been told that it starts out with the detonation of the nuclear.
You gotta watch that.
I do. And what does that bomb do? Apparently, the bomb explodes. It allows this evil to come into this world. And what did the Manhattan Project turn into? The Manhattan Project turned into the Department of Energy. And the Department of Energy, one thing I learned from Clyde Lewis, the one thing we both had some information that the other one didn't catch, and I learned something from him, that the Department of Energy literally controls and operates more government programs than any other governmental agency. I mean,
imagine that. Energy and controlled energy. That's the big guys, right?
And remember the X-Files. Fox Mulder went to the Energy Department, and on one of the lower levels, where I think Deep Throat was down there, there was supposedly an alien in a containment chamber at the Department of Energy on a very, very low level in the DOE facility. So there's a connection to the X-Files and Stranger Things and Twin Peaks. I mean, these are things that, like, yes, if I was working in Hollywood and I was writing a show, I'd find interest in maybe incorporating some of those ideas into the show. But when you find it across the board over shows that came out in the 90s, shows that came out in the 80s, shows that are coming out now, and it's a very...
It's no longer a coincidence. It is no longer a coincidence. And, another show that was brought to my attention, Ryan, was the OA. So where you want to be aware of magic, I'm also trying to make you aware that people that practice real magic are not evil, right? Yeah, there are some evil bastards that practice this stuff. But the evil bastards that are practicing this stuff are running your life. Every thing about your suffering, every game you have to play is a magical game run by dark magic. Do I know who's at the top of it? No. I'm not even going to call them the cabal because I don't know. I could say I have insiders, and you would believe me if I said it enough, but that's not true. I don't. But what I'm trying to do is make you aware of your own potential. And, I can take it to Christianity. When the guy touched, and the story, that story is trying to tell you something. When the guy touched Jesus' hem on his, whatever he was wearing, and he said, someone touched me, and he said, I know who touched me. And the guy said, I know that if I touch you, I'll be healed, and my family will be healed. I'm paraphrasing and butchering the story. But what Jesus told the guy in that story was, I've never seen such faith, belief, in all my life, and now he knows it's going to be healed. It's a little program. I touch Jesus, bam, magically it works. But not because that's just how it is. It's because he believed it. And that's all the man was trying to tell us. This is who, and if I actually believe the guy walked, I just think they screwed up the story. This is who I am. This is who you are. We are all the same. We're all family. I'm here to do a mission to let you know who you are. And by the way, like I said before, lots of Rosicrucians call this guy the master. Rosicrucians, not just church people. People that you think are super evil. It's backwards, I'm telling you. You're being totally fooled. Each and every one of you can change your life just by changing that little thing in your mind. The subconscious is the doorway, not just to changing your life, but Ryan, I really believe it's the doorway to these other things you're talking about. Once you charge it right, like, the doorways to other dimensions. Why are people popping out of their body all the time? No, we're just playing around the astral realm. Magicians knew what to do in the astral realm. They didn't worry about sleep paralysis. They didn't fight demons or black shadows. They got away from all that stuff. They studied it. They knew how to do it. They knew how to handle themselves. We're just now coming to a point to where we're learning about this, and we're going to have to make a decision as a society if we still want to call this super evil, or do we want to say we're aware of it and other people are doing it to us and have been doing it to us all our lives, and we want our sovereignty back. That's all. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm scared to even talk about it, to be honest with you.
I think part of that trick is, and I was one of these people as well, and I still have the program running in my subconscious. I think part of the trick is to manipulate, first of all, to manipulate all of us into thinking that even the word magic means evil. It's something we don't want to associate with. So as to see anything that's considered magical or even occult or esoteric as being something that we should oppose by a reflex action. And so others, however, practice that type of magic. Super Bowl, Olympics, massive events that millions of people watch and dump their energy and attention into. And energy goes where attention, or energy flows rather where attention goes. Or I believe maybe I butchered that myself, Joe. But the fact is, magic is real. We use it every single day. And regardless of what we've been conditioned and programmed to believe about magic, it's funny how even though we think that magic is a negative or a dark thing, magic is part of our entertainment. In, it seems, an ever-increasing amount of entertainment that focuses on the subject of magic, such as Harry Potter. But there are cartoons, there are kids shows, Disney Channel shows, Nickelodeon shows, Cartoon Network shows. There are TV shows for adults focused on magic. I mean, I can just think of a couple off the top of my head. There is the Once Upon a Time show, Fairy Tales and Magic. There is there's
all
a show
Disney cartoons for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Waverly Palace or whatever the name of that show was. So, along with Harry Potter and then the prequel / sequel, whatever those other movies are, it's entertainment, and that also discredits the concept of magic in a large way. And then the other perception of magic is that it's pure evil. And so we reject it without even thinking how much it influences us, first of all, and how much we ourselves can utilize that to fight back against the darker forms and to also implement our own form of magic, our own lives.
Why do you think it's evil? Everybody that says it's evil, they always relate it to a story, right? Well, the Aleister Crowley did this, or the Greeks did that, or they performed this stuff. You're not looking at, what you're looking at is a person figuring out power and using it wrong, and so you won't touch it. You won't touch it because this is what they did. Well, just because they're corrupt and they want to hurt people doesn't mean that you have to be that way. And that's what people want you to think. Look what they did. Run. This is what happens when you try to empower yourself, or you try to care about your own sovereignty, or you actually think you're more than just a dumb animal. You go and you try to do these things and empower yourself in your life, and you're going to end up like that guy over there. And so you don't mess with it. And crowds of people want you to think that. And it's not true. You know, it's just not true. That's a very good point. They're talking about, man, we got to get out of here. They're talking about Eye in the Sky by Alan Parsons. There you go. Lyrics on that one.
I was thinking of that earlier. That's right.
There you go.
Earth, Wind, and Fire, a lot of symbolism. Led Zeppelin.
It's all there. We got to get out of here, though. But it's all there, man. I mean, just study everything. Pay attention to the lyrics. Don't be afraid to pick up another book besides what your pastor or your scribe or Pharisee, the harbingers of hell that the master told you that they are. Don't look at any other books besides this one. Harbingers of hell. Remember that. And don't be afraid of knowledge. Damn it, Ryan. I could do this all night, but we do got to get out of here.
I could too, buddy. Thanks for having me on the last hour.
Absolutely. Friday nights, Ryan Gable comes on, The Secret Teachings, and the website is thesecretteachings.info. And you can also email Ryan at rdgable@yahoo.com. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. David Adair is going to be on the program. Good night.